Chapter 185. Who could it be? The people who could get in touch with Tang Tang that morning were Lin, Yu Xiaochuan, Qi Zhigao, and Xiao Xiao. Was it from Qi Zhigao or Xiao Xiao? Qi Zhigao was absolutely impossible. It was good enough that he was not asked to pay for the maintenance of the Land Rover. Why would he be given money? Was his brain punctured? As for Xiao Xiao, thinking of Xiao Zhao's contemptuous face that day, Xiao Chen also felt that it was unlikely. Besides, why would Xiao Xiao give me money? Then there was Lin, but she was so poor. Why would she give me money? Others didn't know her family's situation, but Xiao Chen knew it clearly. It was hard to say whether she had 20,000 yuan in her family. In comparison, Yu Xiaochuan was the most likely, but it wasn't him. Was it Tang Tang herself? That was even more impossible. If it was Tang Tang's, she would just give it to me directly. She didn't need to use such a hypocritical method. Tang Tang was a straightforward person. Just like the last time she took me to the bank to withdraw money, there was no need for this. Oh, that's my mistake. You haven't given it yet. Why don't you give me some money? Xiao Chen said to Yu Xiaochuan. If you can make Tang Tang promise to be with you on the spot, I will support you. How about 500,000 yuan? As a cohabitation fund? Yu Xiaochuan hesitated and said while gritting his teeth. 500,000 yuan? Xiao Chen didn't expect that Yu Xiaochuan would really spend a lot to achieve his goal, but, compared to the value of Yu Xiaochuan, Xiao Chen still chose to refuse. Isn't it too little? It's not my character to betray my goddess for money and let her answer against her will. I'd better wait for her to agree naturally. A haze flashed in Yu Xiaochuan's eyes, but he gritted his teeth and said, 1 million. How about 1 million? He did not expect Xiao Chen to refuse. In his opinion, 500,000 was already quite a lot. Xiao Chen was really greedy. Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinping invited me to race cars. Not only did they give me a racing bonus, but they also gave me hundreds of thousands of yuan as an appearance fee. You only gave me 1 million yuan. Forget it, I don't talk to people who are insincere. Xiao Chen said and went to get his food. Then how much do you want? Yu Xiaochuan was in a hurry to break off the engagement. If Xiao Chen could give him a number, he would have to gather it even if he had to. Tang Tang's engagement would delay his engagement with the children of other aristocratic families. Recently, the Yu clan had taken a fancy to an aristocratic family from another province, and was preparing to form a marriage alliance with them. However, Yu Xiaochuan had not yet broken off the engagement. If they were to hastily form a marriage alliance, it would be disrespectful to the Tang clan and that aristocratic family from another province. Moreover, Yu Xiaochuan was an upright gentleman, so it was even more impossible for him to do such a thing that violated the bottom line of morality. 5 million yuan. I'll think about it. Otherwise, forget it. Xiao Chen said, if you give me 5 million yuan, I promise to get Tang Tang this semester. What do you mean get it? Make it clear. 5 million yuan. If you can get Tang Tang this semester, I'll give it to you. Yu Xiaochuan pondered for a moment and said fiercely. Okay, deal. Give me the money. Xiao Chen said, you'd better send it to me before I change my mind. Okay, no problem. Wait for me here. I'll get the money for you. Give me your bank account number. I'll transfer the money to you when I get it. 5 million yuan was not too much for Yu Xiaochuan, nor was it too little. Xiao Chen was just stuck at this bottom line. If he asked for too much, Yu Xiaochuan would run away. If he asked for too little, it would not be worthwhile for him. He used to be a child of an aristocratic family, so he knew what the limit of money a child of an aristocratic family could ask for. Of course, Xiao Chen still asked for less. Yu Xiaochuan could ask for more than 5 million yuan from the Yu family. Firstly, he rarely spent money. How could the family satisfy him if he asked for it once in a while? Secondly, his breaking off the engagement was also a big deal for the Yu family. The Yu family would definitely support him. Xiao Chen told him his bank account number. Then Yu Xiaochuan turned around and went downstairs. He left the cafeteria to get the money. Hey, how can you promise him this? He also said, that this semester. When Tang Tang said this, she lowered her head. She was a little embarrassed. Although she usually looked like a girl, when it came to her own matters, she became a fake man. Oh, isn't it just a push? Then push one for him to see. Xiao Chen said with a smile. You really want to push? Tang Tang widened her eyes and looked at Xiao Chen incredulously. She couldn't believe that this was said by Xiao Chen. In her heart, there was a moment of shyness and bitterness. Xiao Chen actually wanted to do that with me for 5 million yuan? Yeah, but you have to suffer a little. You stand on the ground and I will push you down. Then it will be fine. Xiao Chen said. Ahem ahem ahem. After Tang Tang heard it, she suddenly burst into laughter. Is this considered as pushing? You are really a scammer. He said to push you down, not me. Who can he blame? Who asked him to be stupid? Xiaoqun snorted and suddenly said, Hey, I say Tang Tang, did you think wrongly just now? It shouldn't be. Don't you think of me as a pure brother? I didn't. I was shocked because I thought of you as a brother. How could you make such a decision? If it wasn't pure, I would have asked you to push me directly. Tang Tang quibbled. I'm going to get the food. Xiaoqun stood up to get the rice. When he came back, Yu Xiaochuan also came back. Yu Xiaochuan saw him and immediately said, The money has been transferred. Look, don't forget your promise. This semester, I have been very supportive of you. Considering that we are both children of aristocratic families, and Tang Tang used to be my fiancé, this money is a gift from me to you. Well, thank you. Xiaoqun nodded. When there is a suitable opportunity, I will push her down and ask you to see it. This guy is really hypocritical. In order to break off the engagement, he said it was to break off the engagement. He also found a lot of reasons. He said it in a dignified manner as if it was really the case. In fact, who didn't know it in their heart? Ask me? Yu Xiaochuan was stunned, but he still nodded and said, If you have this hobby, then I can go and see it. If there was a chance to record it, then he would have even more evidence. He had no intention of releasing the video or blackmailing Xiaoqun. A gentleman like him who pretended to be upright would never do such a thing. His goal was to prove that Tang Tang had already cheated on him and that she would no longer have anything to do with him. Okay, I'll let you know when the time comes. Xiaoqun saw the notification on his phone that 5 million had been transferred to his account. He was very happy. After Yu Xiaochuan left, he was already in the mood to eat. He was so excited that he wanted to quickly find Elder Tang and explain everything. Just a moment ago, he had secretly recorded the conversation between him and Xiaoqun. Although this conversation could be considered bragging and had no practical use, at least it was a good start, right? Plus, this matter was already set in stone. He didn't believe that Elder Tang would have any reason not to let it go. Thinking of this, Yu Xiaochuan directly drove to the Tang family manor. Just like last time, he entered the Tang family manor after the guard's notification. But this time his mood was completely different. Last time, Yu Xiaochuan was stopped by the guard and was unhappy. This time, because he was close to breaking off the engagement, he didn't care about these small details. The more he appeared to have nothing to do with the Tang family, the better. Tang Fangbai just wanted to ask Yu Xiaochuan something, but he didn't expect Yu Xiaochuan to come to him today. Tang Fangbai was old and experienced. Naturally, he knew that if he took the initiative to ask Yu Xiaochuan about something, Yu Xiaochuan would definitely use it as a reason to break off the engagement to talk to Tang Fangbai. But now he took the initiative to come. Although Tang Fangbai let him in, he still didn't look enthusiastic. Xiaochuan greets Elder Tang. Yu Xiaochuan came to the living room and bowed politely as usual. Well, Xiaochuan, I wonder why you're here today? Are you here to bring me a bowl again? Tang Fangbai smiled and said to Yu Xiaochuan. His words directly brought out the question he wanted to ask, and it didn't seem abrupt. Bowl? What bowl? Elder Tang, I'm here to tell you that Xiaoqun accepted $5 million from me right in front of Tang Tang. He promised to push Tang Tang down this semester. So, I'm here to figure out when we can break off the engagement. We can't hold up Tang Tang and Xiaoqun's good things, right? Yu Xiaochuan said with a smile. He didn't hide the fact that he gave Tang Tang money. Between him and Elder Tang, he couldn't be bothered to pretend. Both of them were sly old foxes. Plus, the fact that he gave Tang Tang money was no secret. Gave him money? Yu Xiaochuan, what are you talking about? What does the money you gave him have to do with me? Elder Tang waved his hand and said, Let's not talk about this for now. Let's talk about the bowl you gave me. It looks good, but it seems to come in a pair. Do you have the other one? It's useless for you to give him money, you know what I mean. Elder Tang's meaning was clear. It was useless for Tang Tang to give Xiaoqun any benefits. If Tang Tang wanted to break off the engagement, he would have to give him something in return. Otherwise, why would he agree to break off the engagement? Both of them were the reincarnations of thousand-year-old vixens, so there was no need for them to be hypocritical. However, their words were full of hidden meaning. I bought that bowl. At the time, I remember there was a similar bowl in the shop, but it wasn't broken. I didn't buy it because it was too expensive, so I bought a broken one instead. Yu Xiaochuan's heart skipped a beat. What was wrong with Tang Fangbai today? Why did he keep mentioning the broken bowl? Could it be that the broken bowl held some sort of secret? It was true that Tang Fangbai liked antiques. But it was just a liking. If he had something, he would research it. If not, it didn't matter. He had never shown any special preference for anything. His focus was still on his martial arts. Antiques were just a side issue. But today he mentioned the bowl twice. Yu Shaochuan didn't believe that Elder Tang would mention it twice because of a broken bowl. Wasn't he just giving himself a loophole? If he got his hands on the bowl, would he agree to break off the engagement? Chapter 186. Yu Shaochuan didn't believe that there was such a good thing in the world. He had spent a lot of effort in the past, but he didn't succeed in breaking off the engagement. If he found a broken bowl for him, he could break off the engagement? Unless the value of the bowl was beyond imagination, so Yu Shaochuan would say so. Otherwise the bowl was simply in the restaurant. How could there be a second one? Well, if you buy me the other one, then we can talk about breaking off the engagement. After saying this, Tang Fangbai suddenly realized that he was a little too excited. When he heard Yu Shaochuan say that there was another bowl, he was a little impulsive. As a result, he agreed to break off the engagement and blurted it out. Wasn't this making Yu Shaochuan think too much? So he quickly changed his words and said, "Oh, you know, I've been fascinated by antiques recently. It's rare for me to have something I like very much. Anyway, you said that the thing between Tang Tang and Xiaoqin is a done deal, so let's break off the engagement. However, before you break off the engagement, at least you have to do something for me, to give me psychological comfort." "No problem, Grandpa Tang." Yu Shaochuan sneered in his heart. Sure enough, there was a problem. If there was no problem with the bowl, Tang Fangbai wouldn't be so impulsive with his temper. But he pretended that he didn't feel anything and said, "But I don't remember what the bowl looks like. I just bought it casually. You know, I don't know anything about antiques. I'll take it out for you to see." Tang Fangbai frowned slightly, but he still turned and left the living room quickly to get the broken bowl. Looking at Tang Fangbai's back, Yu Shaochuan couldn't help but sneer. "Old fox, don't you know that I'm also a little fox?" After a while, Tang Fangbai returned to the living room and carefully walked in with the two broken bowls. Then he said, "It's here. You have a look. If you can find the other bowl, bring it to me. I'll consider what you said." "Let me see." Yu Shaochuan picked up the broken bowl and sneered in his heart. Since he was so careful, it must be something important. Moreover, he just said that if he found the other bowl, there would be no problem in breaking off the engagement. Why did he change his words so quickly? Did he change his words to consider? Perhaps he himself had realized that he had spoken out of turn. Yu Shaochuan took the two broken bowls and looked at them carefully. On the bowls there were some strange words. The words contained a lot of information and were densely packed. If one didn't look at them carefully, they would think they were patterns. In fact, when Yu Shaochuan first saw them, he thought they were patterns. But this time he took a closer look. This was not a pattern. It must be a text, but Yu Shaochuan didn't recognize this kind of text. So Yu Shaochuan pretended to take out his mobile phone casually and said, "I will take a picture of the bowl and the pattern. I will compare it later." Take a picture. Tang Fangbai subconsciously wanted to stop him, but he hesitated and said, "Then you take it, but don't show the picture to others. This bowl is quite precious. Don't show your wealth." "Don't worry. Who can I show it to? If I find the other bowl, I will delete it." Yu Shaochuan said, "I don't like this thing. It takes up the memory in my mobile phone." As Yu Shaochuan spoke, he took a picture of one of the broken bowls. When he was about to take a picture of the other side, Tang Fangbai took it back and said, "Just take a picture. The other one is about the same. I like this bowl very much. Don't break it." Okay. Yu Shaochuan was somewhat unwilling, but Tang Fangbai had already said so. If he insisted, then there would be a problem. He could only give up and said, "Then I will pay attention to looking for it for a while." "Oh he. Okay, then you help me look for it." Tang Fangbai said, "I have to rest. Come to me if you have any news. There is basically no problem with your matter." "Okay, then I won't disturb Grandpa Tang's rest. Goodbye." Yu Shaochuan knew Tang Fangbai's character. He wouldn't release the eagle until he saw the rabbit. However, he might not be willing to look for the other bowl now. He had to go back and carefully study the words on the bowl. After Yu Shaochuan left, Tang Fangbai couldn't wait to carefully put away the two broken bowls and then took them to his practice room. Yu Shaochuan didn't go back to school in the afternoon. Instead, he drove directly back home. He began to search on the internet. Now that the internet was more developed and convenient, it was relatively easy to find out what words were on the bowl. After searching, Yu Shaochuan found that the words on the bowl were written in Sanskrit, but it was not the orthodox Sanskrit. It should be a language that evolved from Sanskrit, called Devil's Text. It was mostly used to copy some of the Devil Sect's mantra. The martial artists of the famous sects might not recognize it, but those devil sect disciples and evil cultivators might recognize it. It was actually very easy to translate this thing. As long as he posted a devil's text translation commission in the warrior guild, he could convert the devil's text into the corresponding words. Moreover, he didn't need to pay too much. A level 1 mission was enough. However, Yu Shaochuan wasn't a fool. He didn't copy the words in the order on the bowl. Instead, he messed up the words and extracted one from each word, forming a paragraph that didn't look like anything. This way, even if the translators saw it, they wouldn't know what it meant. After doing all this, Yu Shaochuan posted a mission commission in the warrior guild. The mission points were 50 points. In the afternoon, Shaochen received a message from Yi Xiaoye. It was a recommendation for a mission. Shaochen opened it and saw that it was actually a mission to gather devil cultivators to help translate devil's text. Although the mission was a level 1 mission and only had 50 points, what surprised Shaochen was that the person who posted the mission was actually a person called Young Master Kun. Could this person be Yu Shaochuan? Shaochen was puzzled when Yi Xiaoye sent another message. It said, "This mission is very simple. It's devil's text translation. If you want to do it, just accept it." After reading it, Shaochen suddenly smiled bitterly. It turned out that Yi Xiaoye thought he was a devil cultivator. In fact, he wasn't one at all. How could he know these devil's text? Just as he was about to give up, he suddenly thought of the Elder Heaven Ancestor. He quickly asked, "Elder Heaven Ancestor, do you know devil's text?" "I know." "Why, Shaochen, do you want to accept this 50 points mission?" The Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice had a hint of laziness in it. "The points are too little. It's not worth it. F***ck, I've been buying medicine every day according to the prescriptions you give me. I'm almost broke. Although 50 points isn't much, it's just a small effort. If you translate it for me, it won't consume your soul's divine sense or mind power." Shaochen said angrily. "Alright, you accept it. You look at one and I'll translate one by one." The Elder Heaven Ancestor said, "I'm not interested in taking over your body. It's too much of a drain on my divine sense or mind power." Shaochen was afraid that someone else would accept this mission, so he quickly accepted it. A notification immediately appeared on the screen. VIP 1 Level 4 Member Martial Artist, White Fox, has successfully accepted a Level 1 martial artist mission from Young Master Kun. In fact, devil cultivators were relatively less active in the warrior guild. In these cities, most of the people who could appear were evil cultivators. Disciples of devil cultivators stayed in the devil sect and rarely came out. Evil cultivators also didn't dare to openly appear in the warrior guild, let alone accept this kind of mission that could expose their identity. Therefore, after Yu Shaochuan posted the mission, it took a long time before it was accepted by Shaochen. This mission wasn't difficult. In just one class, the Elder Heaven Ancestor finished translating all the devil's text. Shaochen didn't even need to show up. He directly sent the correct answers to the email that Young Master Kun provided. After a while, Shaochen's phone notified him that the mission was completed. He received 50 points. It seemed that Young Master Kun was very trustworthy. In fact, the people who posted the mission rarely acted shamelessly after the mission was completed. For members who were able to post missions, no one would act shamelessly. If the warrior guild got involved, they would have to deduct points and even demote their level. Hey, these words are a little familiar. This old man tried to fill in the blanks and realized that it's very similar to a mantra I've seen before. The Elder Heaven Ancestor suddenly said, "Fill in the blanks? Mantra? Shaochen realized that ever since the Elder Heaven Ancestor could read his memory, all kinds of new words began to appear. What mantra? Is it powerful? Can I cultivate it? Yes, a warrior's mantra does not conflict with a cultivator's mantra. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said. The two exist independently. That means I can cultivate it? Shaochen asked. Yes, if you want to cultivate it, you must first castrate yourself. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Are you talking about the sunflower treasure? Shaochen was stunned. Don't joke around. I'm not joking. This mantra is called the chrysanthemum treasure. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Do you want to cultivate it? It won't affect your cultivation even if you castrate yourself. Forget it. Shaochen was shocked and he quickly rejected the idea. Do you want me to tell you? After cultivating it, it will be very awesome. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said with a smile. I don't want to hear it. Shut up. Shaochen said. If you dare to talk to your master like this, believe it or not, I will take over your body and control you to cultivate it. The Elder Heaven Ancestor sneered. Master, please forgive me. I still want to find a few wives and build a new family. Xiao Qin smiled bitterly. I was just joking with you. Look at how scared you are. We also have this mantra, but it is an improved version. Your master had a good friend who helped to improve it. You can succeed without castration. The elder heaven ancestor said. Xiao Qin was speechless. He wiped his sweat and said, Then? I can cultivate it? Not yet. Your strength level is too low. You can't cultivate it. The elder heaven ancestor said. All right. Xiao Qin nodded and continued with the lesson. Chapter 187. As for you, Xiao Chuan, after receiving the email from Xiao Qin, he was extremely excited. Word by word, he corresponded and rearranged them one by one. After working on it for the whole afternoon all the way until the evening, he finally managed to put together a seemingly awesome mantra. Chrysanthemum Treasured Book. This was the #1 incantation of the Everyday and Everyday sect, the heirloom of the sect. However, it had been lost a long time ago, leaving behind only a legend. It was said that after Zhang Naipeo disappeared, this incantation was lost along with him. Yu Xiaochuan didn't think that there would be an incantation carved on a broken bowl. No wonder old Tang was so excited to get his hands on another bowl, so there was such an important secret hidden within. However, what made Yu Xiaochuan unhappy was that there was only half of this incantation. The first half and the second half were still on the other half of old Tang's bowl. Or rather, this was only a quarter of it, and there was another bowl that corresponded to it. The Chrysanthemum Treasured Book was already a mythical existence. Since he was young, Yu Xiaochuan had heard many wuxia stories, and they were the legends of the two incantations, as well as the bloodshed they caused in the martial arts world. Two ordinary youngsters, because of these two incantations, stood at the peak of the martial arts world. One of them was called the Art of Dragon Mastery, and the other was called the Chrysanthemum Treasured Book. There was a saying that Shenyuan would compete with the chrysanthemum. According to legend, these two incantations would appear in the martial arts world at regular intervals, and the peak of martial artists would appear. Yu Xiaochuan excitedly looked at the translated words in front of him. The Chrysanthemum Treasured Book. This was the Chrysanthemum Treasured Book, a legendary existence. Did it really exist in this world? If this broken bowl had fallen into the hands of an ordinary collector, they would never have discovered the secret on it. Or that day when Lu Zhiming broke it, if Yu Xiaochuan had casually thrown it away, the Chrysanthemum Treasured Book would have been destroyed, but Tang Fangbai had discovered the secret on it. Now Yu Xiaochuan was sure that Tang Fangbai had definitely discovered it, or else he wouldn't have such an attitude. Should he practice it? This was a difficult decision for Yu Xiaochuan, because the first sentence on the Chrysanthemum Treasured Book was, to practice this skill one must first castrate oneself. Yu Xiaochuan didn't want to become a eunuch, otherwise, how could he get engaged with that girl from a foreign family? Furthermore, it was still unknown whether this mantra was real or not. If he castrated himself, he would not be able to cultivate it at all. That would be stupid. Therefore, Yu Xiaochuan took a deep breath and placed the mantra under the drawer. He locked it up carefully. Even if he didn't cultivate it himself, he definitely couldn't let anyone else know about it. But Yu Xiaochuan was worried that Tang had already practiced it. One had to be Tang. Tang was Tang 1 and FYI Fong. Tang F11 and 1 Tang and F. Shaking his head, he suppressed these thoughts for the time being. Yu Xiaochuan was a normal person. Usually he also had desires. He would play with a small star or a young model. However, this was all done secretly and he would not let others know. After school, Xiao Qin sent a text message to Qing Minjing, telling her that Qin Jinping and Qin Jingxian were going to treat her to dinner tonight, and asking if she wanted to go. Qing Minjing had nothing to do and Qin Jingxian was here. Of course she agreed immediately. It was the most luxurious hotel near Songning No. 2 Middle School. Jean Beibei drove her golden Panamera. When they arrived at the hotel, Qin Jingxian, Qin Jinping and Qiao Yuliang had already arrived. Qin Jinping and Qiao Yuliang were waiting for Xiao Chen. Qin Jingxian was sitting in the car. When she saw Qing Minjing, she also got out of the car. Of course, Qiao Yuliang was actually waiting for Qing Minjing. He was just showing respect to Xiao Chen. After all, he was making use of him. Wow, this car is so beautiful. Jean Beibei parked the car next to Qin Jinping's BMW X5. After getting out of the car, she walked around Qin Jinping's BMW X5. I've wanted to buy a BMW for a long time, but I don't have the money. Oh. Qin Jinping did not dare to answer. If he said something wrong, the car would not be his anymore. It was not impossible but very likely. What are you talking about? Beibei wants to buy an X5. Haven't you heard that every woman has a BMW in her heart? Jean Bebe said. I don't want to change my car. Don't exchange it with me. If you like it, you can buy one yourself. It's not expensive, just over 1 million. Qin Jinping said in a hurry. But this car is mine. Jean Bebe suddenly pointed at Qin Jinping's BMW and said. Quack. Qin Jinping's face immediately turned green. He almost fell to the ground. Jean Bebe. Don't make fun of me. This joke is not funny at all. I bought this car with my own money. But this car is really mine, isn't it, cousin-in-law? Jean Bebe turned around and looked at Xiao Qin. Yes, Bebe also had a BMW that looked exactly the same, but it was stolen later. Xiao Qin also followed Jean Bebe's words. He did not know how Jean Bebe was going to trick Qin Jinping again. However, Xiao Qin naturally sided with Jean Bebe. He also hated Qin Jinping very much. He was happy to see Qin Jinping's misfortune. Qin Jinping was extremely angry. Jingxian, Menjing, brother Liang, you are all here. Testify for me, whose car is it? I will show you the vehicle license. As he spoke, Qin Jinping took out a vehicle license from the car. He flipped it open and handed it to Jean Bebe. He said, Jean Bebe, look. This is not your car. I really bought it. This time Qin Jinping had learned his lesson. The car was not under the name of the Qin family's company but under his name, Qin Jinping. In such a way, no matter how unreasonable Jean Bebe was, it was impossible for her to falsely accuse him, was it? He also believed that with so many people present, Jean Bebe wouldn't act shamelessly in order to steal his driving permit. Shoot. After taking over the vehicle license, Jean Bebe immediately bulged her eyes in disbelief. She was scared out of her wits too. She had only been playing a trick on Qin Jinping in the first place. She did not expect to get his car. However stupid Qin Jinping was, he would not be fooled for the third time in a row. Therefore Jean Bebe did not think that she could succeed at all. But right now, Jean Bebe's name was written on the vehicle license. Right? It's not your car, is it? Jean Bebe's expression confused Qin Jinping too. She did not seem to be faking it. Was it possible that Jean Bebe had lost a car that was exactly the same as hers and was surprised to see that the vehicle was not hers? What was going on? Jean Bebe rubbed her eyes. Was she hallucinating? However, when she looked at it carefully, she discovered that it was still Jean Bebe, instead of Qin Jinping. Qin Jinping sneered in his heart. No matter how hard you rub your eyes, it's still my name. There can't be any mistake. A shed? This car is really mine. Why did you steal my car again? I have to tell Grandpa that you are a thief. You stole my car again and again. You are so bad. Jean Bebe pointed at Qin Jinping and yelled angrily. She did not care why Jean Bebe's name was written on the vehicle license, but it was obviously a great opportunity. How could Jean Bebe let it go? What? Qin Jinping was immediately dumbfounded. How could she continue to lie like that? He snatched the driver's license from Jean Bebe's hand and gave it to Qing Minjing, who was next to him. Qing Minjing, you are the fairest. Tell me, whose car is it? The owner of this car is Jean Bebe? Qing Minjing bulged her eyes too in disbelief. Did she not know whether or not Jean Bebe owned a BMW? Obviously she did not, but the car was written in Jean Bebe's name. That was truly uncanny. What? Qin Jinping was driven mad too. Qing Minjing had been corrupted. She must have been influenced by Jean Bebe. I don't believe her anymore. Let Xin Jingxian take a look. Therefore he said, Jingxian, take a look. Whose name is written on the license? Okay. Xin Jingxian nodded and took the vehicle registration from Qing Minjing's hand. She glanced at it and her expression became a little strange. Jingxian, tell me, whose car is it? Seeing that Xin Jingxian was silent, Qin Jinping was a little anxious. Jinping, although I am your fiancé, I have never despised you for not having a car. The most important thing for a person is to be honest. If you don't have a car, don't steal someone else's car. That's not good, Xin Jingxian said. Her words were still pleasant, but Qin Jinping seemed to have fallen into an ice house. What? Jingxian, this car is mine. Why are you defending them? Qin Jinping was anxious. He looked at Xin Jingxian in confusion. Alright, stop arguing. What's going on? Jinping, where did you get this car? Let me take a look. Chao Yuliang found that something was wrong too. If Jean Bebe said that the car was hers, it might be nonsense. But now that both Qing Minjing and Xin Jingxian said so, something must be wrong. He wondered what Qin Jinping was arguing about. He took the license from Xin Jingxian. After a quick look at it, his face turned gloomy. Qin Jinping is such an incompetent guy. This car obviously belongs to Jean Bebe. How dare he show the license? Isn't he asking for a beating? Unless one was blind and could not read the words on the license, who could not recognize Jean Bei's name. In Qiao Yuliang's opinion, the car must have been stolen by Qin Jinping to take revenge on Jean Bei. Also, he drove it to Qiao Yuliang today to annoy Jean Bei on purpose. Maybe he had made a fake license with his own name on it. But he took the wrong one out of anxiety and took it as the real one. Chapter 188. Of course, Qiao Yuliang had never suspected that the license was fake. Qin Jinping would not have applied for a fake license in Jean Bei's name for no reason. You stole it just because you said you stole it. Why don't you just go home and drive it yourself? Why are you showing off? Qiao Yuliang was so angry that he threw the license at Qin Jinping's face. Look at it yourself. Don't do such a shameful thing next time. Why don't you return the car to her? What? Qin Jinping was dumbfounded. He picked up the license from the ground and was dumbfounded after only one look. What? It was really Jean Bei's name on it? How was it possible? Had it been swapped by Jean Bei just now? That was impossible. He was afraid that Jean Bei would throw away or tear the license. He had been watching Jean Bei all the time. Besides, Jean Bei was not a prophet. It was impossible for her to have prepared a fake license in advance. She did not know that he would drive the car tonight, nor could she have foreseen that he would invite them to dinner at the last minute. How was it possible? Could it be that he had been a little muddle-headed recently and had accidentally used Jean Bei's name when he registered the car's registration? It was quite possible on second thought. He was truly an idiot. It could not be helped. Qin Jinping could not defend himself. He was the one who provided the license and Jean Bei's name was on it. What could he do? Although he was reluctant, he still gave the car key back to Jean Bei. I'm giving it back to you. I was just kidding. If I really wanted to steal your car, would I have driven it here? You're right. I'll forgive you. I won't tell my grandpa, Jean Bei said. Hearing this, Qin Jinping's anger rose, but he couldn't vent it. He could only spit on the ground. Thank you for being a great person and forgiving me for my wrongdoings. Jinping, that's not right. You can't spit on the ground. It's uncivilized. You have to clean it. Qin Jingxian frowned. Wipe, wipe, wipe. Qin Jinping lifted his foot and used the sole of his shoe to wipe away the phlegm. All right, everyone, let's go up. It's almost time, let's go eat. Qiao Yuliang said, temporarily putting the matter behind him. When she went upstairs, Jean Bei couldn't help but open the registration certificate of the BMW out of curiosity. However, she almost cried out when she saw it. Luckily, Jean Bei had a good mentality because she saw the name of the owner on the registration certificate changed to Qin Jinping again. What was going on? If she was mistaken, then what about Cheng Menjing, Shen Jingxian, Qiao Yuliang, and even Qin Jinping himself? That was impossible. Moreover, she had rubbed her eyes and looked at it several times, but the result was the same. Therefore, Jean Bei was really a little surprised. She walked 2 steps slower and landed next to Xiaoqin, who was walking at the back. She said, "Cousin-in-law, did you perform magic again just now?" "Yes," Xiaoqin replied indifferently. He had indeed set up an illusion just now and changed the name of Qin Jinping's registration certificate to Jean Bei. It was a very easy thing for Xiaoqin. Holy sh*t cousin-in-law, you are so awesome. Is your family artificial? Jean Bei was extremely shocked. Isn't it too amazing? Although the magic tricks on TV were also very awesome, most of them were so realistic with special props and lighting effects. However, Xiaoqin did not use any of them. He did not even touch the registration certificate and completed the whole process of magic. Jean Bei felt that it was really unbelievable. If Xiaoqin performed close-range magic, would he become a big star? She shook her head and said, "Your family definitely doesn't know. If they knew, they wouldn't have driven you out of the house." "It's nothing. It's just some small tricks." Xiaoqin smiled bitterly in his heart. He did not know these things when he was driven out of the house. When they came to the private room, Jean Bei rushed to order the dishes. Although Qiao Yuliang and Qin Jinping felt that they might be cheated, they did not care about the small amount of money since they had already said that they would treat them. "What about my appearance fee?" Xiaoqin sat down in an ostentatious manner and asked Qin Jinping. "Appearance fee?" Qin Jinping turned to look at Qiao Yuliang. He had told Qiao Yuliang before, and Qiao Yuliang said that he would prepare it. "Xiaoqin, I'll give you the appearance fee next time. This time, I came directly from the school and did not bring any money," Qiao Yuliang said with a smile. "Oh, then let's eat next time." Xiaoqin turned to the waiter who was ordering the dishes for Jean Bei and said, "Waiter, take away all the dishes we ordered later." Wait. Qiao Yuliang cursed Xiaoqin in his heart. How could he be so shameless after being driven out of the family? He was simply invincible. In the past, Xiao Chen would not have done such a shameful thing. However, when he thought about it, people were forced to be like this. Xiao Chen had been running around for money every day and even went to the morning market to fry fried dough sticks. It was understandable that he had become a bit unscrupulous. "What do you want?" Xiao Chen asked. Chow Yuliang took a deep breath and said, "I haven't finished yet. What I mean is, if you really want it this time, I can transfer the money to you." "I want it." "You can transfer it," Xiao Chen said. "Okay, I'll transfer it now." Chow Yuliang saw how shameless Xiao Chen was. He had no choice but to pick up his phone and prepare to transfer the money. "How much?" Chow Yuliang asked. "How about 150,000 again?" Chow Yuliang asked. 150,000 is too little. That was my price in the past. Everyone's value has risen." Xiao Chen said, "Waiter, continue to take away food." 200,000. Chow Yuliang clenched his teeth and said, "Bebe, don't order soup. It's not easy to take away food." Xiao Chen pretended not to hear him. 300,000. That's a sky-high price. Chow Yuliang said angrily. "Bebe, there's no need to take away food. Let's eat here," Xiao Chen said. *CKU. Chow Yuliang cursed in his heart. Before Xiao Chen was kicked out of the Xiao family, the confrontation between the two of them was basically a tie. Sometimes Xiao Chen was even at a disadvantage. This King Xiao Chen was kicked out of the Xiao family, and I was defeated again and again. What King reason is this? Xiao Chen's phone received a text message that 300,000 had been transferred to his account. Today he had received a total of 5,300,000 plus 50 points. He didn't know if he would be scammed when he went to buy medicine at night. "Minjing, I'm going to organize a camping trip to the beach this weekend. What do you think? You and Xiao Chen have both transferred from number 1 middle school. We're old classmates. We can get together often. It won't be strange." Chow Yuliang waited for the waiter to leave before he spoke. "The beach? Great. I like going there. Chow Yuliang, help me catch a shark. I want to eat grilled shark meat. I saw grilled shark meat on TV. It's delicious." Jean Bebe said, "Cousin Minjing loves eating shark the most." "Sharks? The area we're going to is safe. There are no sharks." Chow Yuliang calculated in his heart. Could he kill a shark with his real strength? But even if he could, it was not worth it to expose his strength to please Qing Menjing. Besides, it was very likely that he would not please Qing Menjing but Jean Bebe. However, with the support of the Qin family's resources, Qin Jinping had become a martial artist at the peak of level 2 inner force. It was not impossible for Qin Jinping to take action, but should he go to another area with sharks? But after that he would have to adjust his plan to kill Xiao Chen. If there were sharks, how could he let Xiao Chen go into the sea? Xiao Chen probably wouldn't go into the sea easily, would he? Then let's go to another area with sharks. Jean Bebe said. "Well, I'll go back and think about it. You know that it's too dangerous if there are sharks. We can't go into the sea," Chow Yuliang said. "Who will go into the sea in such a weather? Won't they freeze to death if it's so cold?" Jean Bebe said, "I'll go if you decide to go and I won't go if you don't want to. I'm planning to go shopping with cousin Minjing this weekend. It's been a long time since I went shopping." Chow Yuliang was so angry that he almost said, "If you don't want to go, then don't go. Who is willing to take you? You are so troublesome and you like to trick people. Do you think people like you because you have big breasts?" It would be better if she didn't go. But he did not dare to say it. Didn't you hear what Jean Bebe said? If she didn't go and went shopping with Qing Minjing on the weekends, it meant that if she didn't go, Qing Minjing wouldn't be able to go either. She was a little naughty girl who could trick people as much as she wanted. Then I'll go back and look for her. Chow Yuliang had no choice but to agree. Although the main purpose of the camping trip was to kill Xiao Chen, and the date with Qing Minjing was secondary, if both Qing Minjing and Jean Bebe did not go, would Xiao Chen go out with them alone? There was no need to think about it to know that it was impossible. It seemed that he could only satisfy Jean Bebe first and then figure out a way to kill Xiao Chen. Jean Bebe nodded and said, "Then I'll think about it. I won't go shopping. Let's go eat shark meat." "Ah, okay." Chow Yuliang laughed in frustration. While they were talking, the dishes were served one after another. Jean Bebe and Xiao Chen began to gorge on the food. "Cousin-in-law, this is delicious." "Okay. You should have some too." "This is delicious too." "Yes, yes." "The crab is delicious." "Yes, yes." "The abalone is delicious." Chow Yuliang and Qin Jinping were both rendered speechless. Had Xiao Qin been infected by Jean Bebe? On second thought, it was indeed the case. Both of them scammed each other. Their usual style was similar to Jean Bebe's. Were they dating? Cheng Menjing looked at Jean Bebe and Xiao Qin and simply ignored them. Cheng Menjing was basically used to the two of them. After everything was settled, Qiao Yuliang was no longer in the mood to eat, especially when he was faced with Xiao Qin, the glutton who had extorted 300,000 from him. Qin Jinping was even more so. His heart ached when he saw Jean Bebe. Car. BMW. Gone again. Qin Jinping had secretly made up his mind that he would never buy a luxury car again. If he didn't buy one, he would be cheated by Jean Bebe. If he hadn't been sure that he bought the BMW X5 with his own money, he would have thought that the car really belonged to Jean Bebe. Chapter 189. Although he did not know what methods Jean Bebe had employed, he felt that he could not afford to be tricked by her again. Therefore, Qin Jinping planned to buy a second-hand minivan the next day. During the meal, he almost watched Xiao Qin and Jean Bebe eat while Xin Jingxian and Cheng Menjing whispered to each other. Qiao Yuliang could not get a word in edgewise at all. He had indeed treated them for nothing. However, he comforted himself in his heart that everything would be fine as long as Xiao Qin was dead. Without Xiao Qin, Jean Bebe would not have the appetite to eat anymore. As for Xin Jingxian, he had to ask Qin Jinping to work harder and take down Xin Jingxian as soon as possible. Otherwise, if Xin Jingxian kept talking to Cheng Menjing, he would not be able to talk to her. Menjing, how are you doing in the number 2 middle school? Qiao Yuliang finally saw that Xin Jingxian was drinking soup and asked in a hurry, It's fine. My family hasn't mentioned it yet. Fortunately, there isn't any in my house. I don't want to get engaged for the time being. Xiao Qin is already annoying enough. Let's talk about it later. Cheng Menjing showed enough hatred for Xiao Qin. She remembered that Qiao Yuliang tried to kill Xiao Qin last time. In her eyes, as long as she pretended that she had nothing to do with Xiao Qin and hated Xiao Qin, Qiao Yuliang would not lay a finger on Xiao Qin anymore. Of course, what she did not know was that it was somebody else who wanted Xiao Qin dead. After the meal, Qiao Yuliang paid the bill with his card, and Xiao Qin and Jean Bebe packed a lot of delicious food. Of the two cars, Jean Bebe was still driving her Panamera, and Xiao Qin was driving the BMW X5 that he had scammed. Qin Jinping did not have a car, so he and Xin Jingxian got into Qiao Yuliang's Audi A6L. Bebe, not that I want to criticize you, but why do you look like a hungry ghost? Xiao Qin is, and so are you? After Cheng Menjing got into the car, she scolded Jean Bebe mercilessly, Girls should be quiet. Otherwise, who would dare to marry you in the future? I think my cousin-in-law is not bad and he does not despise me. Cousin Menjing, why don't you do me a favor and ask my cousin-in-law to marry me in the future? Jean Bebe said, not caring at all. What does it have to do with me? Cheng Menjing snorted. Aren't you my cousin? He is my cousin-in-law. Jean Bebe said. That was in the past. Not now. He is just my servant. Cheng Menjing said. Even a servant has to listen to you. Jean Bebe said. Then you must behave well. Otherwise, I won't let him marry you and nobody will want you. Cheng Menjing snorted. Okay. Jean Bebe nodded. Then I will continue to eat like this next time. Whatever. Cheng Menjing shook her head. Naturally, she did not take Jean Bebe's words seriously. Although old Master Jean had such intentions, Jean Bebe and Xiao Qin seemed to be pure friends. At this moment, Cheng Menjing's phone rang. She glanced at it and found that it was Xiao Qin who asked her to go back first. He was going to the pharmacy to buy herbs. Xiao Qin drove the car to the entrance of the pharmacy. He stopped the car and walked in casually. Hong Yan was still reading a book. However, Xiao Qin was obviously stunned by her outfit today. Isn't this girl quite conservative? Why is she wearing such a sexy outfit today? It was not because Hong Yan was wearing revealing clothes. In fact, she was not. It was just that her clothes outlined her beautiful figure perfectly. It was hard for anyone to look away when they saw her. Has Hong Yan changed her sex? Well, I'm here to buy medicine again. Can you help me call Grandpa Qin? Xiao Qin walked into the pharmacy and coughed. He tried not to look at Hong Yan in case he felt awkward. Grandpa Qin? Hong Yan was slightly stunned. She seemed to have thought of something. She walked out from behind the counter and smiled at Xiao Qin. With a fragrant breeze she said, Grandpa Qin is not here today. He is out. Little handsome, what can I do for you? It's the same if you tell me. The girl's scent was very pleasant. Xiao Qin turned his head away in embarrassment. However, he could not help but fix his eyes on Hong Yan. It was not until he could no longer see her that he returned to normal. However, Xiao Qin's heart was beating very fast. It seemed that Hong Yan's ordinary words were full of infinite temptation and fascinated Xiao Chen. The feeling of his heart beating was the same as when he met Xin Jingxian for the first time. However, Xiao Chen was still young at that time. His mind was not very mature. It was understandable that he was fascinated by Xin Jingxian. However, the current Xiao Chen was not the same as before, whether it was his mind or willpower. He was puzzled that he still had this feeling of being moved. I'm here to buy medicinal herbs. You know my prescription. Grandpa Chen is not here. It's the same if you give it to me. Ahem. Xiao Chen coughed twice. He was very puzzled. Could it be that Grandpa Chen was not here, so Hong Yan became bold? Was she always this kind of girl on the inside? Although Xiao Chen did not want to say too much to Hong Yan, last night was the last time the medicinal herbs were decocted. Today they had to be replaced. Therefore Xiao Chen had no choice but to buy it. God knows if Hong Yan was deliberately messing with him and then took the opportunity to cheat him. Little sister forgot the prescription. Say it again, handsome. Hong Yan smiled at Xiao Chen and said in a sweet voice, there are so many people buying medicine every day. How can little sister remember it clearly? Hong Yan's every frown and smile seemed to have endless magic. Xiao Chen was almost unable to extricate himself. But fortunately, a cultivator's powerful divine sense and mental strength made him calm his mind quickly. No, this person doesn't seem to be Hong Yan. Xiao Chen's head moved slightly. The real Hong Yan had seen his prescription. Moreover, his prescription was so strange. How could she forget it? Even if there were so many people buying medicine, she should have an impression. Could it be that this little girl in front of him was an evil cultivator? She ate the real Hong Yan and Grandpa Chen and turned into Hong Yan to cause trouble here? When this thought came out, Xiao Chen himself was scared. Why was it similar to the story of Grandmother Wolf that he heard when he was young? But he had just fought with the evil cultivator a few days ago. He knew the evil and strange ability of the evil cultivator. And this Hong Yan, in front of him, was exuding an indescribable magic that attracted him. So Xiao Chen suddenly shouted at her, "You're not from here. Who are you?" As he said that, Xiao Chen suddenly took a few steps back. His whole body became alert. He secretly operated the mantra, afraid that this evil girl in front of him would suddenly launch an attack. Boring, not fun. The woman covered her mouth and laughed. Her laughter was like that of a flower's branches trembling. She was extremely flirtatious. She rolled her eyes at Xiao Chen and said, "You're quite familiar with my sister. I'm not Hong Yan. My name is Hong Zhu." Hong Zhu? Xiao Chen was slightly startled. So it really wasn't Hong Yan. But Xiao Chen still didn't believe her. What evidence do you have to prove that you're Hong Yan's sister? Don't tell me you ate Hong Yan and turned into her? Little handsome, you're really interesting. How can there be so many monsters in this world? Have you read too many fairy tales? When Hong Zhu heard Xiao Chen's words, he immediately laughed happily. I look so much like Hong Yan that even you mistook me for someone else. Naturally, we're twins. If you don't believe me, then forget it. She'll be back tomorrow. All right, I believe you. Xiao Chen really needed to buy medicine today. Moreover, this Hong Zhu didn't seem to have any intention of harming him. He just liked to joke around. So Xiao Chen told him about his prescription. You're that pervert who looked at Jean Ping Mei? When Hong Zhu heard the prescription, he looked at Xiao Chen in surprise. Cough cough, when did I look at Jean Ping Mei? And I'm not a pervert either. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and blushed. From Hong Zhu's tone, it seemed that Hong Yan had told him about it. With this, Xiao Chen no longer doubted that she was a monster in disguise. I'm just joking with you. My little sister has read Jean Ping Mei before. She thinks that romance novels are all about Jean Ping Mei. In our family's library, there are only such classical romance novels and no modern romance novels. So she thinks that you're a pervert. How interesting. Hong Zhu said as he looked Xiao Chen up and down. So it's like that. I'm really wronged. Xiao Chen finally understood why Hong Yan hated him so much. It turned out that she thought he was a pervert. He was really unlucky to be misunderstood when he recommended a romance novel. However, being sized up by Hong Zhu, Xiao Chen suddenly felt a little embarrassed. He couldn't help but feel his heartbeat quicken, and that feeling of attraction once again rose in his heart. Hong Zhu, don't joke around. My herbs. Xiao Chen felt that he couldn't stay here any longer. There was definitely something strange about this Hong Zhu. The longer he stayed here, the more intense that feeling of attraction became. Fine, since you don't want to talk to me, then let's do business. Hong Zhu suddenly withdrew his smile, and his expression turned solemn. He picked up the abacus on the counter, made some calculations and then said to Xiao Chen, a total of 5. 3,300,000. Xiao Qin jumped in fright. Does he know how much money I have on me? What, you think it's too expensive? Hong Zhu said with a serious face, don't you want to buy herbs? This is the price. Can it be a little cheaper? Xiao Qin hadn't even warmed his 3,300,000 yet, and he was already going to spend it. How could he not feel distressed? Of course not. The goods are genuine and the prices are clearly marked. We don't cheat children and old people. Hong Zhu's solemn face suddenly smiled sweetly at Xiao Qin, instantly becoming very beautiful. There were 2 small dimples on her beautiful cheeks. In reality, she was a black-hearted female boss. Xiao Qin hurriedly avoided her smile and coughed twice, trying to get rid of the fragrance in front of him. He smiled bitterly and said, in the past when I came here to buy herbs, I always got a discount. Boss Hong Zhu, can you give me a discount? What's in it for me? Hong Zhu blinked her beautiful big eyes and asked back at Xiao Qin with a faint smile. What do you want? Xiao Qin asked somewhat helplessly. Chapter 190. Accompany me to eat, drink, and sleep. Hong Zhu paused for a moment. Then you have to give me money. When Xiao Qin heard Hong Zhu's previous words, he was startled. When he heard Hong Zhu's last words, black lines suddenly appeared on his forehead. Don't trick me, then accompany me to chat. If you chat with me, I'll give you a discount, okay? Hong Zhu said. Okay, what do you want to talk about? In order to save money, Xiao Qin clenched his teeth and agreed. Anything is fine. What do you do? Hong Zhu asked. I'm a student. Xiao Qin said. You're a student? Then tell me about your school life. After Hong Zhu heard this, his eyes flashed with excitement. Okay. Xiao Qin nodded and casually told Hong Zhu about some of the things that happened in the school, such as sports day, art festival, basketball match, classes, lunch break, outing. While Xiao Qin was talking, Hong Zhu was like a curious baby, always wanting to know why. Xiao Qin still had to explain to her for a long time. It gave Xiao Qin the feeling that Hong Zhu seemed to have run out from the depths of the mountains and forests. How could he not know anything? Finally, after he finished talking about the things that happened in the school, Xiao Qin looked at the time. It was already midnight. He had to go back and boil the medicine. So he said, we've talked so much, can you give me a discount now? Oh, let me check the time. Hong Zhu took out a pocket watch, glanced at it and said, you've chatted with me for 4.5 hours. I'll give you 10,000 for an hour. I'll round it up and give you 50,000, so I'll charge you 5,250,000. Xiao Qin almost vomited blood when he heard that. He had just blabbered so much that his mouth was parched and his throat was cramping. Yet he only got a 50,000 yuan discount? This was too little. What's wrong, little handsome boy? Did I give you a big discount? Are you surprised? Hong Zhu smilingly looked at Xiao Qin, her eyes curved into the shape of crescent moons, making her look like a little kitten. She moved her face slightly closer to Xiao Qin, the fragrance of her hair causing Xiao Qin to feel infatuated and intoxicated. Xiao Qin subconsciously wanted to say that the discount was huge and that he was very satisfied. However, he was a cultivator with a strong mind after all. He coughed twice and said, in the past, Grandpa Chen and your sister Hong Yan always gave me a huge discount. The last time I bought it, I only spent a little more than 2 million. Last time was a loss. This time it's going to be the original price. Hong Zhu chuckled lightly. We can't always lose money when doing business, don't you think so, little handsome? That's still a bit expensive. I'm going to die of poverty. Xiao Qin smiled bitterly. You see, I'm just a poor student, poor as hell. Why would a poor student buy this kind of medicine? You're a disciple of the demon sect, right? Which sect are you from? Hong Zhu suddenly asked. Xiao Qin's complexion slightly changed. He never thought that Hong Zhu would suddenly ask such a question. The only one who knew of Xiao Qin's true colors and the fact that Xiao Qin had the strength to be a devil cultivator, was probably Hong Zhu. This caused Xiao Qin's heart to immediately become vigilant, and his killing intent rose slightly. Don't be nervous, little handsome boy. Do you want to kill this little sister to silence her? Hong Zhu covered his mouth and smiled, seemingly not the least bit afraid. How is that possible? Xiao Qin took a deep breath. In that instant just now, it was as if he had been possessed. The previous Xiao Qin did not have such a violent temperament, and it was impossible for him to want to kill people at the slightest provocation. Even if it was an enemy, Xiao Qin would not act like this. However, it seemed that ever since he had become a cultivator, Xiao Qin's temperament had become a little irritable. Moreover, just now, the demonic energy that had been suppressed in his body had also begun to stir. In the past, Xiao Qin only felt hatred towards himself and killing enemies that touched his bottom line. But now, he had inexplicably developed such thoughts towards Hongzhu, causing Xiao Qin to be somewhat surprised. If you answer this little sister's question, I'll give you a discount, okay? If you answer one question, I'll give you a 10% discount, Hongzhu said with a beaming smile. What do you want to ask? Xiao Qin took a deep breath. You're a devil cultivator, right? Hongzhu pursed his lips, blinking as he asked. How did you know? Xiao Qin did not answer but instead asked a question of his own. Boring, you're not sincere. This little sister doesn't want to play with you anymore, Hongzhu pouted, stretched out his hand and said, Give me the money, I'll give you the medicine. How about you change your question? Xiao Qin watched the discount slip away from his eyes, feeling somewhat unwilling. Fine, what are you buying these medicinal ingredients for? Hongzhu looked at Xiao Qin with a smile that was not a smile. According to this little sister's knowledge, some of these medicinal ingredients are only used by devil cultivators, although I don't understand what your prescription is for. Can I strengthen my yang? Xiao Qin smiled bitterly in his heart. Wasn't this the same F***king question as before? You. Hongzhu glanced at Xiao Qin. Do you need to strengthen your yang to practice the virgin boy technique? Xiao Qin did not know how Hongzhu saw through his inexperience, but this blatant teasing was still somewhat unbearable for Xiao Qin. This little devil girl was really hard to deal with. I'm making preparations for the future. Then continue with your preparations. Give me the money, I'm going to close the door, Hongzhu said, stretching out his hand. Aren't you guys open 24 hours a day? Xiao Qin asked. That's usually the case. This little sister is only on duty so I can close the door whenever I want, Hongzhu said as if it was a matter of course. Then can I change the question? Xiao Qin asked helplessly. Where is your sect? Hongzhu asked. Xiao Qin took a deep breath and said, No need for a discount. I'll give you the money. Swipe my card. As he spoke, Xiao Qin took out his bank card and slapped it on the counter behind Hongzhu. Didn't I say you were a nouveau riche? You're so rich yet you're still teasing this little sister. Then I won't give you a discount of 50,000, I'll just charge you 3 million. Hongzhu picked up Xiao Qin's card and was about to swipe it. The 50,000 from before was for chatting with me, not a discount. Xiao Qin shouted himself hoarse. Fine, even a nouveau riche has his stingy moments. Hongzhu had just learned the word nouveau riche from Xiao Qin, so he used it on Xiao Qin himself. After swiping his card, Xiao Qin held the medicinal ingredients that he had bought at such a high price and wanted to cry. In the blink of an eye, only 50,000 was left in his bank card. This was really a scam. I'm really too much of a genius. Grandpa Qin told me to only sell him 3 million this time, so I cheated him of an extra 2,250,000, haha. After Xiao Qin left, Hongzhu beamed with joy. This money is mine now. Although Xiao Qin had left, his six senses were still present. He had been somewhat suspicious of Hongzhu's identity from the start. He did not know that Hong Yen was called Hong Yen before, but Hong Yen addressed Grandpa Qin as Grandpa. In that case, Hong Yan's surname was not Qin, but Hong Yan's surname was Hong, and Hongzhu's surname was the same. He suspected that Hongzhu was lying. However, when Xiao Qin heard Hongzhu's final words, he nearly tripped and fell to the ground. This little girl is really bad, she cheated me to death. It was always Xiao Qin who cheated others, but this time he had fallen into the hands of this little magical girl, causing Xiao Qin to feel extremely displeased. However, Hongzhu's words made Xiao Qin feel relieved. It seemed that this Hongzhu really was related to Hong Yen and Grandpa Qin. In that case they might not be related by blood, but they were still elders of the same family. After relaxing, Xiao Qin quickly rushed back home. He had to quickly boil the medicine, otherwise there would not be enough time. After Hongzhu finished laughing, the smile in his eyes suddenly disappeared, and a playful smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. No wonder that guy died at your hands. You're really something. However, you still have to give me an explanation, don't you? Naturally, Xiao Qin could not hear the rest of Hongzhu's words. After returning home, he turned on the electric clay pot, set the time for the medicine to boil, and then sat to the side, picking up his phone and browsing through the tasks. Did you accept that task? What does he want to translate? As soon as Xiao Qin went online, he saw Yi Xiaoya's message. A bunch of strange words. Xiao Qin directly sent the things that young Master Qian wanted him to translate to Yi Xiaoya. After a while, Yi Bia replied, "What are you doing not sleeping in the middle of the night?" I've turned off my phone. Xiao Chen was a little speechless. Was it wrong for me to reply to her immediately? Shaking his head, Xiao Chen put down his phone and started cultivating. After Chao Yuliang sent Qin Jingxian home, he brought Qin Jinping to a private club and entered a private room. However, the two of them did not call for anyone. Instead, they only ordered some fruit plates and beer. Brother Liang, Xiao Chen has Jin Beibei messing around. It's not easy to deal with him. If we change our destination and go to the shark-infested area, Xiao Chen will not go into the water no matter how stupid he is. How can we drown him? Qin Jinping could not help but say, why don't we kill Jin Beibei as well? Kill my A***s. It's not a big deal to kill Xiao Chen, but how many heads do you have to kill Jin Beibei? Won't Master Jin kill you? Chao Yuliang glared at him. But we did it secretly. Master Jin has no proof that we did it. Qin Jinping hated Jin Beibei to death. He had been tricked by her 3 times. Do you think golden-haired Lion King needs proof? Will he talk to you about proof? Chao Yuliang frowned and said casually, intelligence. Well, that's true. Recalling the dominance and unreasonableness of golden-haired Lion King, Qin Jinping immediately shut his mouth. If Jin Beibei was really dead and golden-haired Lion King killed him unreasonably, there would be nothing he could do. All right. Now that everything has come to this, let's find another way to kill Xiao Chen. Chao Yuliang waved his hands, hinting for Qin Jinping to think of a more reliable solution. Why don't we ask him to catch sharks? Qin Jinping thought for a moment and suggested. Can he go? Chao Yuliang glanced at Qin Jinping. Do you really think Xiao Chen is an idiot? If it were Xiao Chen in the old days, he might have gone after you, goaded him a little. But right now, Xiao Chen is a complete scoundrel. Just like Jin Beibei, he only cares about money but not about shame. Qin Jinping thought for a moment and said, then should we pay him and ask him to go? Chapter 191. Give him money? How much money can he give? Oh, you don't say. This is a smart move. Chao Yuliang's eyes suddenly lit up. I don't believe that he won't catch a shark if we give him 500,000. Haha, then we will create an accident and let him fall into the sea and be eaten by the sharks. Qin Jinping saw that Chao Yuliang accepted his suggestion, and he was very happy. We will do something on the fishing boat. And you go and arrange it. Chao Yuliang nodded. But don't make it too obvious. I understand. Qin Jinping sneered. At that time, if Xiao Chen were to fall into the sea, he would definitely die. Forget about Xiao Chen, an ordinary person who had not even reached the first stage of inner force. Even if it was him, Qin Jinping, who fell into the sea, he would definitely die and become a meal for the sharks. Although martial artists were strong on land, that was only limited to land. On the fishing boat, Qin Jinping could control the fishing gun to hunt sharks alone. He could easily do something that several fishermen could do. However, in the sea it was not enough. Even if he could exert the strength of stage 2 inner force, he would still need to be able to hit the sharks. However, what if Xiao Chen refuses to go? Won't you still have to hunt the sharks with us? Don't let us both fall into the sea? Qin Jinping suddenly thought of a serious problem. Or what if Cheng Minjing also goes hunting with Xiao Chen? Just like the last time when they raced? Chao Yuliang was shocked. That's right. What if Xiao Chen doesn't go, or if he goes but Cheng Minjing also wants to go? Thinking of this, Chao Yuliang's expression became dignified. At that time, try to let Qin Jingxian hold Cheng Minjing back. Don't let her join in the fun. I want to, but Qin Jingxian doesn't listen to me. She is the Missy of the Shen family. I don't dare to force her. Qin Jinping said with a bitter smile, Brother Liang, let's find a way ourselves. Ugh. Chao Yuliang wanted to scold Qin Jinping for being a good-for-nothing, but thinking about it, didn't he also fail to deal with Cheng Minjing? He was not as good as Qin Jinping. Therefore he did not speak but closed his eyes and pondered. At this time Chao Yuliang's phone suddenly rang. Chao Yuliang glanced at the caller ID on his phone. It was actually Li Shanpao's assistant, Lin Chao. Hello. What's the matter? Chao Yuliang picked up the phone. Young Master Chao? I'm Lin Chao, the former junior of Senior Li. Lin Chao said. I know. Go ahead. Chao Yuliang said. It's like this, young Master Chao. I misunderstood Senior's family before. Senior Li is actually a direct descendant of the Weijiang Li family, and he is the grandson of the first wife. However, he loves racing. The Li family is afraid that people will pay attention to him, so they arranged his identity as a collateral descendant of the Li family. Lin Chao said, I was called in by the old man of the Li family for questioning. He was very angry. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I told him everything that happened here. As for whether the Li family blames young Master Chow, I can't do anything about it. What? Chow Yuliang cursed his bad luck. This was really an unexpected disaster. That Li Shanpao was actually a direct descendant of the Weijiang Li family? Chow Yuliang had naturally heard of the Li family of Weijiang City. It was an ancient martial arts family that was comparable to the Shin family. They were powerful. As the grandson of the first wife of the Li family, Li Shanpao died a violent death. It would be strange if the Li family would let it go. Young Master Chow, I can only inform you. I can't help you with anything else. Not only that, senior brother Li's fiancée is also a ruthless person. She's a disciple of a big sect. I heard, she's also going to Songning City. Good luck to you. Lin Chao hung up after he finished speaking. *CK. Chow Yuliang threw the phone on the ground. It was really inexplicable. He didn't know if the Li family and Li Shanpao's fiancée would find trouble with him. Although in Songning City, the strong dragon couldn't suppress the local snake. Even the Shin family, who had a firm foothold, didn't dare to be too rash, but Chow Yuliang was really afraid that he would encounter a lunatic like the Golden Fur Lion King. Then he wouldn't be able to reason with him. What's wrong, Brother Liang? Qin Jinping noticed that Chow Yuliang's expression wasn't right, so he quickly asked. It's about the previous incident with Li Shanpao. It's not over yet. Chow Yuliang's face was gloomy. He said to Qin Jinping, he is the grandson of the first wife of the Li family. Why did he come out to race? Why is he blaming me for his death? Wasn't he killed by Xiao Qin? Can't we just blame it on Xiao Qin? Qin Jinping was stunned. He was also a little surprised. That's true, but I'm afraid that the Li family is unreasonable. If we encounter the Golden Fur Lion King, we will be finished. Chow Yuliang was so angry that he slammed the table. Qin Jinping took a deep breath after listening. When he was about to speak, Chow Yuliang's phone rang again. Chow Yuliang glanced at it. It was an unfamiliar phone number, but the caller ID indicated that it was a call from Weijiang City. Hello. Chow Yuliang picked up the phone. Chow Yuliang, is this young Master Chow? On the other side of the phone, there was a feminine male voice that made people feel uncomfortable. I am. Who are you? Chow Yuliang's heart skipped a beat. He could roughly guess the identity of the other party. Lin Chao just called to remind him, and he received a call from Weijiang City. It was really not a coincidence. Let me introduce myself. My name is Li Shaning, Li Shandiao's younger brother. On the other side of the phone, the feminine male voice introduced himself. Li Shaning? Li Shandiao. Chow Yuliang was slightly stunned. Oh, my brother uses the alias Li Shanpao outside. Li Shaning explained. It turns out to be young Master Li. Sorry for not recognizing you. Chow Yuliang said in his heart. As expected, he is from the Weijiang Li family. Young Master Chow, do you have time? How about we meet? I have already arrived in Songning City. Li Shaning said. Okay, no problem. You can come to the Chow's business club now. Just tell the waiter that you are looking for me, Chow Yuliang. Chow Yuliang said. This Chow's business club was the property of the Chow family. He was known by everyone here. No problem. See you later. Li Shaning hung up after he finished speaking. I'm coming. Chow Yuliang put down the phone and said, in a while, don't talk nonsense. Listen to me. I understand, Brother Liang. Qin Jinping replied quickly. He was so scared that he broke into a cold sweat. He didn't know how the Li family would deal with them. But thinking about it, since Li Shaning dared to come to their territory to talk to them, he shouldn't be here to fight. It was true that he didn't come with good intentions, but he certainly didn't dare to be too rash. This Li Shaning was Li Shanpao's younger brother. He shouldn't be an impulsive person. Half an hour later, the phone in the room rang. It was the lobby manager of the club who called, Young Master Chow, there is a Mr. Li Shaning looking for you. What do you think? Bring him up. Chow Yuliang said. He didn't go to greet him. Sometimes he still had to be careful. This was Songning City, not his Weijiang City. Soon the lobby manager came with Li Shaning. He knocked on the door, and a man who looked similar to Li Shanpao but was obviously more scheming came in accompanied by the lobby manager. At this time, Chow Yuliang stood up. Young Master Li, welcome. Li Shaning nodded and said, Young Master Chow, you don't have to be so polite. Let's sit down and talk. Chow Yuliang asked the lobby manager to go out first, and then sat down face to face with Li Shaning. He said, Young Master Li, let's not beat around the bush. Are you here for your brother Li Shanpao? Yes. Li Shaning nodded. I heard that my brother was invited by young Master Chow to race? It's true that I invited him to race, but Brother Ling had a car accident. I'm afraid this matter can't be blamed on me. I paid him. Chow Yuliang didn't expect Li Shanning to be so straightforward. He didn't beat around the bush and directly absolved himself of responsibility. Young Master Chow, don't get excited. In fact, everyone knows whether young Master Chow is responsible for this matter. You know it and I know it. Li Shanning waved his hand and said, but something happened to my brother. My grandfather is furious about this matter. We have to find a solution. When Chow Yuliang heard this, he knew that this second young Master Li Shanning was a sensible person. Young Master Li is right. I have always wanted to kill the murderer who killed brother Li Shanpao and give an explanation to the Weijiang Li family. Young Master Chow is also a sensible person. I have investigated the background of you, brother Jinping and Xiao Qin before I came. In my opinion, someone needs to stand up and give an explanation. Xiao Qin is more suitable. What do you think? Li Shanning said faintly. Yes, it is a pleasure to work with young Master Li. What do you need me to do? Chow Yuliang breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that the Li family was not willing to make a big fuss, so they sent Li Shanning to solve the problem. In fact, Chow Yuliang was wrong. Old Master Li naturally had to punish the related people, but Li Shanning was different. Li Shanpao was dead, and the biggest beneficiary was Chow Yuliang. In the past, although Li Shanpao did not do his proper work and went to race, Li Shanpao was still the first heir of the Li family. Now that Li Shanpao was dead, Li Shanning took over his brother's position. So, he was too lazy to come to Songning City to start a feud. He investigated the cause and effect and found that Xiao Qin was the most suitable scapegoat. So, he found Chow Yuliang and Qin Jinping to cooperate. Help me get rid of Xiao Qin. Of course, this is also young Master Chow's purpose. You asked my brother to race, didn't you also want to get rid of Xiao Qin? But, I want to get the results as soon as possible so that I can go back and report. Li Shanning said. Chow Yuliang did not expect things to be solved so easily. We were discussing how to get rid of Xiao Qin. The original plan was like this. As he said this, Chow Yuliang told Li Shanning about the plan that he and Qin Jinping had made before, but there was an unforeseen event in the middle. Now he and Qin Jinping did not come up with a good plan. Just in time, he told it to Li Shanning for help on how to deal with Xiao Qin. Chapter 192. This is easy. At that time you can go camping normally. If you are afraid that Xiao Qin won't go fishing, you don't have to do anything on the boat. If he gets on the boat, I will drive another boat to hit him. If he doesn't get on the boat, I will find other opportunities. Li Shanning said indifferently, if it wasn't for the fact that I don't want to attract too much attention and get into trouble in Songning City, I would have personally killed Xiao Qin. Okay, no problem. With young Master Li's help, then we are in the bag. Chow Yuliang suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. If Li Shanning hit Xiao Qin into the sea, it would be even more unexpected. At that time they would have nothing to do with it. And let's do this first. Let's contact each other again. Li Shanning said this and suddenly said, my sister-in-law has come to Songning City. If she looks for you, you must make a unified statement. Just say that the car accident caused by Xiao Qin killed my elder brother. Do you understand? Otherwise don't blame me if you die. Ugh. But we don't have evidence? Chow Yuliang was stunned. This matter could be guessed, but wouldn't it be more troublesome if they couldn't find evidence if they were to talk nonsense? I have investigated. Qin Jinping, your elder brother, is called Qin Jinkuan. He died in a car accident, right? Li Shanning suddenly said. Yes, but what does it have to do with this? Qin Jinping was stunned. Before the car accident, he had a conflict with this Xiao Qin in the morning market street. Then he died in a car accident. Li Shanning sneered, can't he frame you? Just say that your elder brother also provoked Xiao Qin and was killed in a car accident designed by Xiao Qin. Okay. Qin Jinping thought about it. It was quite reasonable. Counterattack and settle the sister-in-law. Not bad. I'm optimistic about you. Li Shanning patted Qin Jinping's shoulder and said playfully. A look of desire flashed in his eyes. Qin Jinping was stunned. At this time, Li Shanning had already left the room. Looking at Li Shanying's departing figure, Chow Yuliang let out a long sigh of relief and smiled disdainfully. What the heck? I reckon that brat must be overjoyed right now. He can't even thank us enough. It's all thanks to us that he's able to rise to the top, yet he still wants to imitate you and mess with his sister-in-law. Damn, so that's what it means. Qin Jinping suddenly understood. No wonder this guy is not hostile to us. He doesn't want to avenge his brother at all. He just wants to give his family an explanation. That should be the case. However, with his help, it'll be easier for us. When Xiao Qin is dead, he can just leave. Even if old Master Jin wants to protect Xiao Qin, he won't go to Weijiang City to settle the score with the Li family. It's too far and he doesn't have the ability to do so. Chao Yuliang smiled coldly. God is helping me. 3 days passed in a flash. Xiao Qin had finished his medicinal herbs, but he still hadn't leveled up. This almost made Xiao Qin cry on the spot. Was this the rhythm of the cultivation world being poor for 3 generations? Moreover, the key problem was that Xiao Qin hadn't received a single mission in the past 3 days. He didn't earn any money either. Although there were many missions in the warrior guild, they were from all over the place. Compared to Songning City, it was impossible for there to be some high-level missions. Therefore, Xiao Qin resisted the urge to rush to the pharmacy and ask Hongzhu for the money that he had cheated away. If he still didn't have the money to buy medicine today, Xiao Qin could only think of a way to sell his points in the warrior guild. However, what surprised Xiao Qin was that he actually received a call from CFA. Hero White Fox, I'm CFA. CFA's voice was very pleasant, with a hint of laziness. In the past, Xiao Qin hated rich wives like her. They played cards and walked their dogs every day doing nothing else. However, since he knew about CFA's tragic life experience, Xiao Qin was very sympathetic towards her. The marriage of a big family had basically ruined her entire life. For the sake of the family's reputation, she couldn't get a divorce, let alone have an affair. That young Master Wang could, but she couldn't. This was the sorrow of a woman from an aristocratic family. Hello, Monsieur. What's the matter? Xiao Qin asked. It's like this. I don't know if you have time tonight. My husband wants to see you. CFA hesitated for a moment and said. Cough, cough, cough. Xiao Qin was stunned and said, Your husband, isn't he that young Master Wang? Didn't he not return home at all and didn't talk to you? Yes. Speaking up to this point, CFA had a headache. I don't know where he heard that you helped me find the dog in Xiaofeng. He thinks that you have superpowers and can help him, so he asked me to help invite you to my house to talk about things. Xiao Qin was suddenly speechless. Superpowers? This young Master Wang's imagination was quite rich. However, what surprised Xiao Qin was how did young Master Wang know so much? Didn't I ask you to keep my matter a secret? How did he know? This matter can't be hidden in the Xie family, and some people in the Xie family have a good relationship with the Wang family, so it's normal for him to know. CFA said, You also know that my marriage with him was facilitated by some people for benefits. So that's how it is. Xiao Qin nodded, which made him heave a sigh of relief. In that case, it wasn't deliberately done by someone with ulterior motives. Perhaps it was accidentally mentioned by someone who was close to young Master Wang, as if he was bragging, making him a superpower user. As a result, young Master Wang probably happened to have something to discuss with him, so he came to find him. This guy seems to be a tycoon, then I can cut him some money tonight. The medical expenses were finally settled, so Xiao Qin immediately said, Okay, then let him wait for me at the villa tonight, but my time is limited and I won't wait after the deadline. Xiao Qin also had to be more arrogant. After all, a master always made others wait. The more he did so, the more money that young Master Wang would give him. At night after school, Xiao Qin first took Jean Beibe's Panamera and returned to the villa with Cheng Menjing. After putting down his school bag, Xiao Qin changed into the chef's uniform of White Fox. Are you also going to sell fried dough sticks at night? Cheng Menjing saw Xiao Qin's outfit and felt a little strange. No, I'm going to buy some medicine and I'll be back in a while, said Xiao Qin. Buying medicine? Then why are you dressed like this? You're really crazy. Cheng Menjing frowned and didn't ask any more questions. Yi Xiaoye was taking care of her flowers and plants in the garden at the door. When she saw Xiao Qin go out, a trace of doubt flashed in her eyes. She felt that Xiao Qin's outfit was familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had seen it before. She thought that she might have seen it when she was selling breakfast. When he was almost at the door of CFA's house, Xiao Qin put on his mask and went over to ring the doorbell. Not long after, there was a burst of hurried footsteps and a dissatisfied voice. Get up, I want to open the door myself. At this time, the door was opened, and a handsome and elegant man appeared in front of Xiao Qin. He was probably older than Xiao Qin, about 25 or 26 years old. Beside him stood a man in black, who was obviously his subordinate or bodyguard. Just now, it was this man who wanted to open the door, but he was pushed aside. This must be Hero White Fox. It's nice to meet you. My surname is Wang, and my name is Wang Xiongzhuang." The elegant man introduced himself to Xiao Qin politely. "Wang Xiongzhuang." Xiao Qin glanced at the man in front of him. No matter how he looked at him, he couldn't see how majestic he was. He was obviously a handsome young man. However, this young Master Wang was very humble. He didn't have the arrogance of a son of an aristocratic family at all. "That's me, Hero White Fox." Young Master Wang nodded with a smile. "Hero White Fox, let's talk inside." "Monsieur, is there a room for me here?" Xie Fei walked over at this time and looked at Wang Xiongzhuang indifferently. "Talk inside? Do you have anything shameful to say? Are you going to shut me, your wife?" This. Young Master Wang was a little embarrassed. He rubbed his hands and looked at Xie Fei pleadingly. "Miss Xie, you can't blame me for what happened between us. Didn't your Xie family try to matchmake us? You and I are both victims." Chapter 193. Tell me about you. Xiao Qin wasn't in the mood to listen to Wang Xiongzhuang's rambling here. He sat on the bed and asked impatiently. He was originally from a big family. How could he not see the helplessness of a big family? He and Tang Tang were both victims, so although he sympathized with concubine Xia, it was not to the point of helping her. He didn't even know what to do himself and he still wanted to help others. Yes. Wang Xiongzhuang nodded, but he hesitated to speak. "Are you okay?" Xiao Qin frowned. Of course, with the mask, Wang Xiongzhuang couldn't see it. "White Fox, are you a superpower user?" Wang Xiongzhuang asked carefully. "If there's nothing else, I'm leaving?" Xiao Qin got up to leave. "Don't." Wang Xiongzhuang was shocked and quickly stopped him. He gritted his teeth and said resolutely, "I'm not afraid to laugh at you. Actually, I'm a natural eunuch." "Natural eunuch? What natural eunuch?" Xiao Qin suddenly froze and looked up and down at young Master Wang. "No way? This guy looks so attractive to girls and he's actually a eunuch?" "Yes, I've seen many hospitals and I've also asked for help from pharmacists, but it didn't work. I heard that you are a superpower user, so you should be able to help me, right?" After Wang Xiongzhuang said it, he didn't care about his face and said it in one breath. "You don't want to be with concubine Xie because of this? Are you afraid that she will find out?" asked Xiao Qin. "Yes and no." Wang Xiongzhuang scratched his head with some embarrassment. "In fact, my psychological orientation is normal. Concubine Xie is so beautiful, I naturally have feelings." "Oh, then if I cure you, you can be with concubine Xie and then you can dump the one outside?" Xiao Qin naturally leaned towards the Xie family, so he also had to consider for concubine Xie. "That Xiaoling is a very good girl. She knows about me, but she has never turned her back on me. She has never left me. Her love for me has never changed, so I can't leave her." Wang Xiongzhuang was an infatuated person. Xie Chaonan was right about this. "Then if I cure you, will you harm concubine Xie?" Xiao Qin stood up and was ready to leave. "I'm sorry, you should find someone else to cure her." Although Xiao Qin didn't mind the children of big families having several women, he was now naturally on concubine Xie's side. He was not familiar with Wang Xiongzhuang, so he would definitely not support him. Wang Xiongzhuang was slightly stunned. Xiao Qin's "I cure you" shocked him. Then he seemed to think of something. He grabbed Xiao Qin and said, "White Fox Hero, don't go." "I just said it casually. After all, concubine Xie is my fiancée. She is so beautiful. If I'm fine, it's normal to have something with her. But the premise is that I don't know that White Fox Hero also likes concubine Xie. Then I definitely can't have any ideas about her." "White Fox Hero, I don't like concubine Xie, really?" Xiao Qin was a little speechless. What kind of logic is this, young Master Wang? I said a few words for concubine Xie and you like concubine Xie? If I say that I said it for Xie Chaonan, does that mean I like Xie Chaonan? "White Fox Hero, White Fox God, you can cure my illness, right?" Wang Xiongzhuang grabbed Xiao Qin and refused to let him go. It was not that he was stupid and easy to deceive. It was just that after so many years he had seen a lot of masters, but none of them could cure him. Later, someone pointed out to him that people with special abilities could help, so Wang Xiongzhuang began to inquire about people with special abilities. However, it was hard to say whether there were people with special abilities in this world. Since the last time he had dinner with a business partner of the Xie family, the young master of the Xie family drank too much and began to brag about how great it was that concubine Xie hired a hero. It was simply a god, so Wang Xiongzhuang remembered it. Kidney water point is naturally stagnant. Elder Heaven Ancestor said in Xiao Chen's ear, "Well, you are now a professional at stealing other people's wives." Xiao Chen was a little speechless. Whose wife did he steal? It seemed that it was only Tang Tang, and it was Yu Xiaochuan who forced her on him. They were obviously brothers, okay? It can be cured. Kidney water point is naturally stagnant. Xiao Chen looked at Wang Xiongzhuang and said faintly, but I don't want to cure it. Since Elder Heaven Ancestor said it, there must be a way to cure it, otherwise he would not say it. In fact, Xiao Chen had no money to buy medicine, and Elder Heaven Ancestor was also very anxious, otherwise he would not have said it directly. Ah. This time Wang Xiongzhuang was even more shocked. He looked at Xiao Chen aghast. The kidney water acupuncture point was innately congested. This was told to him by a very skilled alchemist, but that alchemist was powerless. This was because this acupuncture point was not part of the meridians of a martial artist's body. Even if one consumed body-tempering liquid, it would not have any effect. But now Xiao Chen just looked at it without a careful examination and said the disease. That must be a very high-end person with special abilities, it could not be fake. Wang Xiongzhuang was really glad that he did not say too many bad things about Xia Fei, otherwise it was estimated that this god with special abilities would take action against him. Wang Xiongzhuang heard that these people with special abilities could kill people invisibly, and they were much more powerful than warriors, so he did not dare to offend Xiao Chen. Wang Xiongzhuang really wanted to slap himself. Why did you say that you have nothing to do? Obviously, you are not that kind of person, but you have to say that Xia Fei is beautiful, you really deserve to be beaten. In fact, Wang Xiongzhuang really did not have any feelings for Xia Fei, otherwise even if he did not have that ability he would use other ways to satisfy his desire, and it was impossible that he did not even touch Xia Fei. Hero White Fox, I really don't like concubine Xia. Although I can't divorce her, you guys can still be together in secret. I'll cover for you guys, please help me. Wang Xiongzhuang almost knelt down to Xiao Chen. Don't say this nonsense. If I really want to be with Xia Fei, do I need your consent? Who do you think you are? Xiao Chen snorted. Of course, Xiao Chen was just talking casually. He just wanted to make himself look a little bad *SS so that he could ask for a price later. Yes. White Fox, how can you help me treat her? Wang Xiongzhuang asked quickly. Are you looking for someone to do something for you? Xiao Chen was a little speechless. Is this guy so stupid? Doesn't he know that seeing a doctor costs money? Wang Xiongzhuang suddenly realized. I thought you were an expert and didn't care about money. No problem, White Fox, how much do you want for the medical fee? Xiao Chen extended a finger. 1 million? No problem. Wang Xiongzhuang nodded quickly. 1 million for 1/10 of your treatment. Xiao Chen said. 10 million. Wang Xiongzhuang was slightly stunned. To be honest, 10 million was really nothing for the Wang family. However, the key was that the Wang family didn't know that Wang Xiongzhuang had this problem. If they knew, the position of the Wang family's heir would have long fallen to other cousins. Would it be his turn? An heir who couldn't carry on the Wang family's ancestral line, who would support him? Therefore, although Wang Xiongzhuang participated in the family business, in fact, the annual dividend was limited. He had to use it with Shaoling and give a large sum to Xia Fei. There wasn't much left. A few million could be taken out, but 10 million was a bit of a stretch. 10 million is because you had an additional condition just now, so I gave you a discount. Otherwise, if it was someone else, I would have charged you 100 million. Xiao Chen saw that he was hesitating and immediately threatened him. Okay, no problem. However, can I give you 5 million first? This is all I can take out in my account. The remaining 5 million, I will sell a few stocks tomorrow to compensate you. Wang Xiongzhuang said. Okay, prepare the money. I will go and prepare the medicine for you. Xiao Chen nodded and pretended to be reluctant. Anyway, you were introduced by Xiao Fei. You can't run away. After that, Xiao Chen got up and left the room. When he pushed the door open, he was shocked. He almost bumped into Xia Fei at the door. Xia Fei was shocked. She quickly closed the door behind Xiao Chen and gestured for him to keep quiet. She tiptoed downstairs. Xiao Chen was stunned for a moment and followed. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. This Xia Fei has been eavesdropping at the door all this time? Because this was Xia Fei's house and Xiao Chen didn't have anything to keep secret, he didn't set up any defenses. He didn't expect Xia Fei to eavesdrop. Of course, Xiao Chen wasn't afraid of anything, but the secret of Mr. Wang couldn't be kept. Fortunately, when Wang Xiongzhuang saw Xiao Chen leave, he immediately took out his phone to collect money. He didn't notice Xia Fei outside. Xia Fei, what are you doing at the door? Xiao Chen went downstairs and said with a bitter smile. Nothing. I was just passing by. Xia Fei's face was slightly red. You heard it all? Xiao Chen saw Xie Fei's expression and suddenly guessed something. He couldn't help but be a little embarrassed. I was just saying. I didn't mean anything to you, and I know. Xie Fei nodded. That's good. Don't tell anyone about Mr. Wang. Since he is willing to pay for treatment, then I will treat him. Xiao Chen always felt that Xie Fei didn't believe it. Does she think that I have feelings for her? And? Xie Fei nodded again. Then I will go and prepare the medicine for him. Xiao Chen nodded and turned to go out. That. Hero White Fox, are you really a superpower user? Xie Fei suddenly shouted. You believe your family's bragging? Xiao Chen was stunned. He was a little dumbfounded. Then, can you still treat Wang Xiongzhuang? Xie Fei said, are you fooling him? That's not the case. I know some medical skills. Xiao Chen said, in this day and age it's not so easy to be a hero. I have to be all round. Medical skills? Are you an alchemist? Xie Fei was stunned and asked. Almost. Xiao Chen nodded. He couldn't explain it. It was better to classify himself as an alchemist so that he didn't have to explain too much. Then, can you help me see a doctor? Xie Fei hesitated and asked. Chapter 194. What's wrong with you? Asked Xiao Chen. Forget it, nothing. I'm not sick. Xie Fei shook her head again. Xiao Chen was a little puzzled, but since Xie Fei said so, he didn't ask anything else. He just smiled and said, you are joking with me? Then I'll leave first. Okay. Xie Fei nodded. What made Xiao Chen puzzled was that Wang Xiongzhuang's bodyguard was nowhere to be found. Wang Xiongzhuang probably sent him away. After all, family scandals shouldn't be aired in public. Probably no one knew about Wang Xiongzhuang's matter except for Xiaoling. Xiao Chen left Xie Fei's villa and asked as he walked, how do you treat Wang Xiongzhuang's illness? Give him some herbal dregs? Why are you asking when you already know? Elder Heaven Ancestor said, he'll be fine after the knot is discharged. Okay, I'll go back and brew some for him. Xiao Chen didn't intend to give Wang Xiongzhuang the herbal dregs. Although there were some expensive herbs in the herbal dregs that were difficult to identify, with Wang Xiongzhuang's family's ability, it would be easy to find an alchemist to analyze it. Even if he didn't know what temperature to use and how long to brew it, Xiao Chen was afraid that the formula would be leaked. When he returned to the villa, Cheng Minjing and Yi Xiaoye were not in the living room. Xiao Chen returned to the bedroom and set the time to brew the herbal dregs. Wang Xiongzhuang's problem wasn't big. Xiao Chen didn't intend to let him wash his bones and marrow, so he only grabbed a small amount of herbal dregs and put them in the electric pot. As long as it could cure his current problem, it was fine. As for the rest, he didn't pay. After the herbs were brewed, Xiao Chen poured the herbal dregs into a bottle of mineral water. He left home and went to Xie Fei's villa again. Wang Xiongzhuang was already very anxious. He paced back and forth in the living room restlessly. Xie Fei was lying on the sofa lazily watching TV. She turned a blind eye to Wang Xiongzhuang's situation as if it had nothing to do with her. Hero White Fox, you're back. Seeing Xiao Chen come in, Wang Xiongzhuang immediately heaved a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that Xiao Chen wouldn't come back. After all, Wang Xiongzhuang's problem was very serious. He was afraid that Xiao Chen was perfunctory before, and then he would never return. Yes. Xiao Chen nodded and handed the bottle to Wang Xiongzhuang. Drink it. Drink here? Wang Xiongzhuang was taken aback. Yes, Xiao Fei is not an outsider. She knows what I know, so you don't have to hide it. Xiao Chen said faintly. In fact, it was because Xie Fei had overheard it before. Xiao Chen was too lazy to go upstairs. When this guy was cured, he could take the money to buy herbs. I see. Wang Xiongzhuang was slightly taken aback. In his heart, he felt that there was a relationship between Xiao Chen and Xie Fei, but he didn't ask much. Anyway, this kind of expert's behavior was very strange. He could say whatever he wanted. In order to cure the illness, he was willing to kneel and lick. Then, sister-in-law White Tiger, please don't laugh at me. My illness, let's not talk about it. I'll drink it here? And finish it. Drink it while it's hot. After drinking it, you can exercise for half an hour. Xiao Chen said. Exercise? How do I exercise? Wang Xiongzhuang was taken aback. Climb stairs, run, anything is fine. It's up to you. Xiao Chen said. Wang Xiongzhuang wasn't a martial artist, so he didn't need to exercise. Moreover, the illness he wanted to treat was relatively small. It was just a depression. It wasn't as serious as the Golden Fur Lion King. Alright. Wang Xiongzhuang picked up the mineral water bottle and drank it in one gulp. Suddenly his body felt hot. Wang Xiongzhuang knew that it was the effect of the medicine. At the same time he was even more impressed. He quickly ran to the yard to exercise. Can he really be cured? Xie Fei looked at Xiaoqin strangely. More or less. Xiaoqin nodded. Then, can you cure everything? Xie Fei asked. I can solve difficult and complicated illnesses. I specialize in all kinds of dissatisfaction. Tomorrow I will print a business card. Help me introduce some clients. Xiaoqin realized that it was faster to earn money from Xie Fei than from the warrior guild. Xie Fei only knew rich people. They didn't lack money, and the local missions of the warrior guild were too few. All right. Xie Fei hesitated for a while, but in the end she didn't say anything. Half an hour later Wang Xiongzhuang returned. Although he was sweating profusely, his eyes were shining with excitement. White Fox God, you are really amazing. I'm completely convinced. I'm cured. He didn't even need to try. In the past, Wang Xiongzhuang couldn't get it up. But now, after exercising, he naturally had a reaction. It was as if he had been holding it in for a few years and was about to explode. If Xie Fei wasn't Xiaoqian's woman, he would have raped her on the spot. However, Wang Xiongzhuang didn't even dare to think about it now. Xiaoqian was such an amazing person. He was a mutant that was even rarer than a warrior. This kind of person could kill people without leaving a trace. How could Wang Xiongzhuang dare to provoke him? In that case I should be leaving as well, Xiaoqian said indifferently. White Fox Hero, here's a 5 million credit card. The password is 6666. Unknowingly, the black-suited bodyguard from before returned. He must have gone to get the money for Wang Xiongzhuang. Xiaoqin took the 5 million credit card with an expressionless face. I will give you the remaining 5 million as soon as possible. When I have enough, I will send it to Xie Fei. Wang Xiongzhuang thought that Xie Fei was on the same side as Xiaoqin. He was secretly envious. The Xie family was really lucky to have met such a god. Don't ignore the Wang family after you become rich. No, I have to find a chance to interact with the White Fox God. Okay. Xiaoqin nodded. He didn't leave any message for Wang Xiongzhuang. It was just right for him to send it here. Then I'll leave first. Wang Xiongzhuang left happily. He thought that Xiaoqian's "I'm leaving" meant that he was asking him to leave. After all, Xiaoqin and Xie Fei had that kind of relationship. Why would he leave? If someone were to leave, it should be Wang Xiongzhuang. Xiaoqin nodded and watched Wang Xiongzhuang and the black-suited bodyguard get into a GMC RV and leave the Xie family's villa. After he left, Xiaoqin said to Xie Fei, I'm leaving too. Stay alone at night. Be careful. If there's anything, call me. After Xiaoqin finished speaking, he was ready to leave. Hey, do you really have feelings for me? Xie Fei suddenly asked Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin staggered and almost hit the door frame. Just as he wanted to say something, Xie Fei's giggling laughter came from behind him. I'm just kidding. It turns out that the hero also has times where he can't stay calm. I'm practicing the butterfly micro steps. Xiaoqin quibbled, haven't you heard of the butterfly micro steps? I've heard of it. I saw it on TV. Xie Fei nodded and said in a serious manner, can you learn these lost techniques from TV? Are you talking about the campus bell? I have already increased the prestige of the author. He told me the mantra. Xiaoqin said casually. Oh, then the next time you see him, ask him if he can arrange for me to be the female protagonist? Asked Xie Fei. I'll try. Xiaoqin found out that he had been teased recently. Xie Fei didn't dare to talk to him like this in the past. I have to be serious next time. However, you can wait until the day you can arrange for me to be the male protagonist. Then you can be the male protagonist. Oh, you're still interested in me? Otherwise, why do you want to be the male protagonist? Xie Fei looked like she understood. Xiaoqin suddenly blushed. What he meant was that she had to wait, which meant that there was basically no chance. He didn't expect to be misunderstood by Xie Fei. I'm leaving. Goodbye. Xie Fei waved to Xiaoqin. In fact, she was joking with Xiaoqin because she was usually too depressed. Every day seemed to be comfortable, but in fact it was simple and boring. She had no friends, no lover. She was alone in the villa, accompanied by a Tibetan mastiff and her mahjong friends. Therefore, when she suddenly had a friend she could talk to, even if it was a very powerful and mysterious person, Xie Fei couldn't help but make a few jokes. In fact, she didn't have any other meaning. Xiaoqin left the Xie family and quickly walked in the direction of the pharmacy. He weighed the 5 million in his bank card in his hand and silently prayed that he wouldn't run into Hongzhu again. However, when he arrived at the entrance of the pharmacy and looked inside, damn. Hello, handsome. Hongzhu, who was originally quietly reading a book, suddenly raised her head and smiled at Xiao Chen, who was preparing to leave the door quietly. Xiao Chen had already decided that even if he had to delay his cultivation for a day, he would come back tomorrow. He had been cheated badly last time. Money wasn't that easy to earn. It's little sister Hongzhu. Hello, I'm just passing by, Xiao Chen said. Passing by? Aren't you here to buy medicinal ingredients? Hongzhu placed her hand on the edge of the pharmacy's door and leaned forward. Half of her body was out of the door, revealing a V-shaped hook on her chest. Xiao Chen couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. In fact, the extent of Hongzhu's body was not as exposed as those office ladies on the street. Xiao Chen could only vaguely see through her shirt. Even so, Xiao Chen felt that she was particularly attractive, and he couldn't help but be unable to extricate himself. Xiao Chen moved his gaze away with difficulty. Sometimes, it was even more tempting for a man to be vaguely seen. It had to be said that Hongzhu's every move moved Xiao Chen. He couldn't wait to push her onto the counter. However, Xiao Chen was a person with self-control. If he really pushed a woman of unknown origin like this, he might not even know how he died. I originally planned to buy medicine, but I haven't saved enough money. The last time, it was too expensive, Xiao Chen said after taking a deep breath. Then how much money did you have this time? Tell this little sister and this little sister will give you a discount. Hongzhu looked at Xiao Chen with a smile. Her breath smelled like orchids and faintly seemed to float onto Xiao Chen's face. It made him feel a little itchy, as if ants were scratching him, and his heart was also itching. Not much, not as much as the last time. Xiao Chen calmed his mind and said. Chapter 195. If not, then how much? Hongzhu's eyes flashed with imperceptible surprise. For Xiao Chen to be able to maintain his composure in such a situation, he really was a formidable character. Don't be fooled by his foolish and easily tricked appearance. In reality, how much are you selling it for this time? Xiao Chen asked. How about the same price as last time? 25 million? Hongzhu asked. How about you earn another 2 million? Xiao Chen countered. Hongzhu, who had always been calm, could not remain calm this time as he looked at Xiao Chen in astonishment. He was speechless for a long time before he finally asked, How did you know? Hong Yan told me, Xiao Chen said. Liar. Hongzhu suddenly changed the image of a sexy little enchantress and fiercely glared at Xiao Chen. My little sister hasn't returned for the past few days. How did you find her? Xiao Chen did not think that he would be exposed and immediately felt a little embarrassed. Actually, I secretly overheard it when I was at the door that day. Really? Hongzhu's eyes flashed with suspicion. Of course it's true, Xiao Chen nodded. Then what else did you hear and see? Hongzhu suddenly asked. Nothing much. Xiao Chen was taken aback. Did Hongzhu take off his clothes and go to sleep after that? Alright, I'll sell it to you for 3 million this time. I did indeed earn 2 million last time. Hongzhu's sudden straightforwardness surprised Xiao Chen. Really? Xiao Chen did not quite believe Hongzhu's words. This little magical girl was a little strange to him. Really? Hongzhu nodded. When has little sister ever lied to you? Then, give me a portion. Xiao Chen really found it a little inconceivable. Why did Hongzhu suddenly become so easy to talk to? However, even after Hongzhu handed him the medicine and Xiao Chen swiped his card, nothing out of the ordinary happened. Xiao Chen walked out of the pharmacy in a daze, feeling that things had gone a little too smoothly. However, as soon as Xiao Chen left the pharmacy and turned onto the small road to return to the villa area, he felt a strong gust of wind behind him. Xiao Chen was shocked. He hastened his steps and his body kept drifting to the left and right. Only then did he manage to dodge the attack from behind. Who is it? Xiao Chen came back to his senses and saw a person in black night clothes standing not far behind him. Because this person was masked, Xiao Chen couldn't determine her identity. However, from the physical characteristics, it was a woman, and her figure was very good. Not bad to actually be able to dodge my sneak attack. The night woman looked at Xiao Chen. Her voice was very pleasant, like a moan, full of charm. However, Xiao Chen was sure that he had never heard this voice before. As the woman spoke, Xiao Chen suddenly fell into a trance. It was as if the person standing in front of him was an extremely beautiful woman. Xiao Chen inexplicably felt that this woman should only exist in the heavens, and could only be seen a few times in the mortal world. Although he couldn't see her face clearly, Xiao Chen felt that the person in front of him was a fairy that had descended from the mortal world. That kind of beauty seemed otherworldly. Charm technique? Xiao Chen, don't fall for it, be careful. Elder Heaven Ancestor's warning sounded in Xiao Chen's ears. Charm technique? Xiao Chen was stunned for a moment, but he immediately came to his senses. The woman in front of him was still the night woman whose face couldn't be seen clearly. Where was this fairy? Even if the woman's figure was beautiful and graceful, she was just an assassin who was hostile towards him. Is sister beautiful? Do you want to play with sister? The nocturnal lady's bewitching voice rang out again. Her figure suddenly approached Xiao Chen. Sure, but take off your mask first. Let me see if you're ugly or not. Xiao Chen took a step back, his whole body was extremely vigilant. The strength displayed by this woman was at the peak of stage 5 inner force, which was one level lower than Xiao Chen. The night woman saw that Xiao Chen dodged and even asked her to take off her mask. She was stunned. She didn't expect her charm technique to fail. Could it be that he didn't fall for it? That's impossible. I must have not used all my strength just now. Thinking of this, the night woman looked at Xiao Chen and said coyly, Sure, but only for you to see. Come here, sister will show you. Not only can you see my face, but you can also see other parts of my body. Good. Xiao Chen sneered in his heart. He casually set up an illusion. Xiao Chen, who looked like a pig, walked towards the woman with blurred eyes. The night woman saw that Xiao Chen had fallen for her trick, and was overjoyed. She thought to herself, I knew it, I'm the genius witch of the mystic faction. How could I not deal with you? If you finally fell for it, huh? I'll beat you up first. Bam, 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 bam. The night woman punched and kicked Xiao Chen's illusion in the air, and Xiao Chen took the opportunity to escape. The way the night woman came was a little strange, and from the looks of it, she didn't want to kill him, and he didn't know what she wanted. However, the night woman was a martial artist at the peak of stage 5 inner force, and Xiao Chen didn't have much confidence. Instead of fighting her head-on, it was better to escape. Of course, the reason why Xiao Chen was able to use the illusion to successfully deal with a martial artist who was a level higher than him was also because the strength of the nocturnal woman was not particularly high. Although she was at the peak of the 5th stage of inner strength, she was not a normal martial artist. If Xiao Chen was not surprised, she should be a demonic cultivator. Demon cultivators of the same level were not as strong as martial cultivators in a head-on fight. They were good at supporting spells which were similar to true cultivators. Xiao Chen now suspected that be it martial cultivators or demonic cultivators, had they all evolved from cultivators in the beginning? Or in other words, true cultivators evolved from true cultivators. The nocturnal woman was proficient in seduction techniques, so her strength at the peak of the 5th stage was probably equivalent to a normal martial artist's inner strength at the peak of the 4th stage. Xiao Chen had taken advantage of her being caught off guard, and in the most impossible situation, he had fallen for Xiao Chen's illusion. Xiao Chen disappeared like a wisp of smoke. The nocturnal woman was still hitting the air. After hitting for a long time, she suddenly realized that something was wrong. Her vision blurred, and Xiao Chen, who was beaten black and blue by her, disappeared. Illusion. It's actually an illusion. The night woman was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Today was really embarrassing. She had always used her illusion-like seduction skills to deal with others, but today she was given a taste of her own medicine and lost her mind. Xiao Chen, you're very good. I wanted to test you, but now there's no need for that. When Xiao Chen returned to the villa, he started to decoct the medicinal ingredients. After setting the time, he fell into deep thought and recalled what happened today. The night woman that he met tonight made Xiao Chen feel a little strange. Judging from the situation, she shouldn't be one of Chao Yuliang's people, and definitely not one of Lu Jinming's people. Lu Jinming had temporarily called a truce for Cheng Menjing. It was still unknown when the war would start, but now it was definitely not one of his people. And Chao Yuliang basically wanted to kill him the moment he made a move. Moreover, he had just treated him to a meal and now he wanted to kill him? Was there something wrong with him? This was too unnecessary. If Xiao Chen didn't guess wrong, Chao Yuliang should be making a move tomorrow and the day after. As for the Sun family, it was possible. A few days ago, Xiao Chen had just beaten up Sun Rongjin in the morning market street. After so many days, Sun Rongjin should be able to find out his identity. However, Sun Rongjin was such a ruthless person. Last time, he sent Lu Jianbiao to kill people, so it was impossible for him to get a little girl to use seduction skills on him. Elder Heaven Ancestor, what is this seduction skill? Why do I feel that the martial artists of the demon sect are similar to the cultivators? Xiao Chen couldn't figure it out, so he naturally asked. Yes, in this world, in the beginning there were not so many detailed divisions. Everyone was collectively known as the cultivators. Elder Heaven Ancestor nodded and said to Xiao Chen, It is time to let you know about this history. Cultivator? So, cultivators also belong to this? After listening, Xiaochen couldn't help but ask, then why is it said that cultivators are high-end bad *SS professions? We all evolved from cultivators. Diamonds and pencils are both carbon elements. Is there any comparison? Elder Sky harumphed. When a cultivator evolves to a lower level, they become a warrior. When they evolve to a higher level, they become a cultivator. So, other cultivators also exist in this world? Xiaochen asked. I don't know whether they still exist or not, but based on my current observation, the heaven and earth spirit chi around you is so thin that only martial artists can continue to exist. Elder Heaven Ancestor said, and you are a different species. I also don't know how you cultivated so fast. This was the topic that Xiaochen didn't want to talk about the most. It was a good thing that his cultivation speed was fast, but the side effects were unknown, especially when the devil chi entered his body. Xiaochen really didn't know what he would become in the future. Let's not talk about this. Let's talk about the demonic cultivator today. I have been asleep for too long. I'm not too clear about the situation in the secular world. She should be a disciple of some demon sect, but I don't know the specifics. I only know that she used seduction skills. Elder Heaven Ancestor said, however, she doesn't have any killing intent towards you. Is it because one of the girls that you betrayed in the past learned martial arts and came back to take revenge? Love and hate can't do it? I'm still a virgin. Xiaochen was amazed by Elder Heaven Ancestor's imagination. Betrayal doesn't necessarily have to happen. Falling in love sometimes happens in an instant. Love and hate happen in an instant. Raising a glass to the moon is like the sky. Elder Heaven Ancestor sang, I'm sorry, I'm just expressing my feelings. I thought of some things in the past. Xiaochen realized that Elder Heaven Ancestor was familiar with him. He was no longer the strict master who was difficult to talk to, but more like an old urchin. Master, were you also trapped by love in the past? Let's not talk about this. Think about whether you provoked a little girl, Elder Heaven Ancestor said. I don't think so. Xiaochen thought about it but couldn't think of anything. The only demon sect disciple that he knew was Yi Xiaoya. There was no one else. Chapter 196. However, since he couldn't figure it out, Xiaochen didn't want to think about it anymore. Continuing to improve his strength was the right way. After the medicinal herbs were decocted, Xiaochen drank it all in one gulp. When the warmth once again surged into his heart, Xiaochen began to train crazily. He didn't want to waste the slightest bit of medicinal effect. After exercising, there was an indescribable feeling of comfort all over his body. And the distance to the 5th level of Qi refining stage, Xiaochen felt that he had touched the long-awaited barrier. This was the happiest thing for Xiaochen. After spending so much money on it, there were finally signs of a breakthrough. Something's wrong. Before Xiaochen finished being happy, he heard the voice of Elder Heaven Ancestor in his ear. In the past, every time at this time, you could break through the barrier in one fell swoop. Why can't you do it now? Little Qinzi, I've also noticed that your cultivation speed has become slower recently. Xiaochen carefully thought about it. It seemed that every time he touched the barrier he could break through in one fell swoop. It was rare for him to stay here. Could it be that his good luck had come to an end? But this thing depended on luck? Wasn't it talent? Isn't the higher the level, the harder it is to break through? Xiaochen thought for a moment and asked. In theory it is, but I saw that every time you broke through so quickly I thought that was not the case, said the Elder Heaven Ancestor. You first practice for a night and see the situation. Maybe you can break through tomorrow. Tomorrow. Then this medicinal herb would be wasted. Xiaochen was a little distressed. Oh right, my medicinal dregs are not the same every time. The effect of treating the injuries of those warriors and ordinary people should be different, right? At present, the medicinal herbs that you took in the Qi refining stage have the same effect on them. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said, it is different for you because every time I add precious medicinal herbs, most of the medicinal efficacy of these precious medicinal herbs have been absorbed by you. After 3 times there is not much left. Therefore to them, as long as a little rare medicinal herb is combined with other basic medicinal herbs, it will be enough to treat them. If you really want to give them medicinal herbs that you haven't taken before, hee. What do you mean? Asked Xiaochen, taken aback by the sinister laughter of the Elder Heaven Ancestor. He couldn't take it and his meridians flowed in reverse and his body exploded. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Damn, it's that serious? Xiaochen's eyes widened. Then why am I fine? Don't you have the heaven-stolen fortune battle art? The elder heaven ancestor said disdainfully. With such a powerful mantra, how could there be a problem? Didn't I practice the opposite way? Xiaoqin said. In that case, did he almost die from practicing? Who can you blame for training in the opposite direction? A gentleman can't blame himself. The elder heaven ancestor said, besides, aren't you training normally? There's nothing wrong with you? Fine. Xiaoqin knew that he couldn't argue with the elder heaven ancestor. At first, he was afraid that his prescription would be leaked, but now it seemed that whoever caught him according to the prescription would probably die after drinking it once. In the past, Xiaoqin would have been very happy, but now, should he remind Hong Yan and Grandpa Qin of the pharmacy? When he thought of the pharmacy, Xiaoqin suddenly thought of Hongzhu. He didn't know why, but Xiaoqin felt that the girl who had come looking for trouble tonight was Hongzhu. However, their voices were different. As for the figure, Xiaoqin didn't look carefully. As for the face, it was covered so he couldn't see it clearly. The similarity between the two was just an illusion of Xiaoqin. Hongzhu liked to seduce and tease him, and so did the girl who was looking for trouble at night. But if he thought about it carefully, Xiaoqin didn't think that the two were the same person. After all, Xiaoqin didn't offend Hongzhu. The two had just met not long ago, and Xiaoqin didn't know her before. Moreover, he paid for the medicinal materials and didn't rob them. It was impossible for Hongzhu to target him for no reason. Shaking his head, Xiaoqin put this idea aside for the time being. No matter who it was, it would be enough to see if the other party would kill him next time. The only thing Xiaoqin could do was to improve his strength as soon as possible. The next day was Saturday. It was the day that Xiaoqin, Qing Minjing, Jin Beibei, Chao Yuliang, Qin Jinping, and Xin Jingxian went on an outing. Xiaoqin sent a message to Tang Tang, telling her that he couldn't sell fried dough sticks today and that he would go on an outing with Qing Minjing. Soon Tang Tang's message came back, come on, push down the goddess. I support you. Xiaoqin was rendered speechless. Why did he have to push her? He should have pushed her. But Xiaoqin didn't reply. After all, he and Tang Tang were sometimes more than just good friends. Xiaoqin didn't want them to be more awkward, so he deliberately avoided this kind of joke. Xiaoqin directly replied that he was just a follower. But before Tang Tang replied, another phone card with the identity of White Fox called. Hey, hello. Xiaoqin picked up the phone. This was also the number given by the Warrior Guild. Xiaoqin didn't know who was calling. Is this Mr. White Fox? A voice with a foreign accent came from the other side of the phone. Yes, and you are? Xiaoqin asked. Let me introduce myself. My surname is Zhang and my name is Zhang Tianhao. I issued the level 4 task of killing the evil cultivator in the Warrior Guild. Oh, it's Mr. Zhang. Hello. Xiaoqin confirmed the identity of this person, so it was not surprising that he had his phone number. This person was the rich child whose girlfriend was killed by the evil cultivator. This name was really rich. Mr. White Fox, thank you for avenging Ping Ping. I want to thank you in person. Where are you now? Are you still in Songning City? Can I go to you? Zhang Tianhao said. No need to thank me. You have paid me. Although the other party didn't mean any harm, Xiaoqin didn't want others to know his real identity. He also didn't want to have too much contact with the person who issued the task. After a while, Zhang Tianhao said, then I will tell you the truth. Before, I was afraid that Mr. White Fox wouldn't be happy if I said it. Actually, I have something else to ask of you. If I say it directly, I am afraid that Mr. White Fox will think that I am a profiteer. When I need Mr. White Fox's help, I call you. When I don't need you, I didn't call you to express my gratitude even after the task ended a few days ago. Xiaoqin raised his eyebrows slightly. Then what do you want? Nothing. Zhang Tianhao suddenly said and directly hung up the phone. Xiaoqin was slightly stunned. What was wrong with this Zhang Tianhao? He stopped talking halfway. Did he have something to say or not? Far away in a villa in the city, Zhang Tianhao hung up the phone with a resolute look on his face and threw the phone aside. Opposite him, a black-clothed man whose face couldn't be seen clearly suddenly became angry. I told you to call him and ask him out. What the hell are you doing? Ping Ping is already in a living hell because of you. She is staying in the hospital's ICU ward. I have nothing left. Just kill me. I don't want to hurt my benefactor. Zhang Tianhao said decisively. She is just a woman. Do you want to follow in her footsteps? The man in black sneered. Or, are you playing tricks on me waiting for your Zhang family's warriors to come and save you? I might as well tell you, although I am a heretic, it doesn't mean that I don't understand modern technology. The signal of your alarm has already been blocked by me. You can't even send out a signal. If you don't want to die, call me and ask him out. This heretic was called Witch of Shishan. The heretic that was killed by Xiao Qin and Yi Xiaoye together was his disciple. He didn't expect that he would be killed by Zhang Tianhao's mission when he just started to roam the Jianghu. Feeling humiliated, Witch of Shishan came out to avenge his disciple. He didn't plan to let Zhang Tianhao go, but before he killed Zhang Tianhao, he had to kill White Fox and Yi Xiaoye first. Of course he knew Xiao Chen's phone number. If he went to Songning City he might be able to find Xiao Chen. However, he didn't dare to be too high profile. He was a well-known heretic and had long been on the blacklist of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau and the Warrior Guild. He was a wanted person. If the Warrior Guild or the Supernatural Investigation Bureau sent experts, he wouldn't be able to get revenge, but he would also be in trouble. Years ago he was seriously injured by an expert from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, which greatly reduced his strength. Otherwise, he wouldn't have to be so careful when he returned to the Jianghu. After all, he was just a heretic with stage 6 inner force, only slightly stronger than his disciple. I've said it before. Why don't you kill me? Anyway, I've already gotten my revenge. Looking at Ping Ping every day makes me feel like I'm better off dead. The sooner I die, the sooner I can be free. Zhang Tianhao said calmly, if you have the ability, find him yourself. You think I can't? Witch of Shishan was angry, I just don't want to waste time. Xiao Qin on the other side of the phone heard everything clearly. Zhang Tianhao didn't really hang up the phone, but let the conversation be transmitted to Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin didn't expect that killing a heretic would cause so much trouble. His disciple died, and his master came to avenge him. What worried him the most was the strength of this master. He didn't know if he had the confidence to deal with him. Moreover, if this heretic master found him, he would definitely find Yi Xiaoye. Then wouldn't Yi Xiaoye be in danger? However, Zhang Tianhao was already very kind. Xiao Qin was very grateful that he was willing to go this far. He was the one who issued the mission and Xiao Qin was the one who accepted the mission. There were risks when doing a mission. If one couldn't bear the risk, then don't do it. Therefore, even if Zhang Tianhao told his heretic master Xiao Qin about his whereabouts, he wouldn't hold a grudge, let alone not tell him. Therefore, Xiao Qin still admired Zhang Tianhao, and he immediately had a good impression of him. However, Xiao Qin was in a bit of a dilemma. This heretic master would find him sooner or later. How should he deal with him? With his current strength, it was definitely impossible. Chapter 197. The conversation on the other side was still going on. Then wouldn't talking to me waste more time? Zhang Tianhao sneered. If I ask him out, will you let me go? I don't think so. I have already investigated. You are a direct descendant of the Zhang family. I have achieved my goal. Why should I make enemies with the Zhang family? What the Witch of Shishan said was reasonable. Okay, then I will make another call. On Zhang Tianhao's side, the information was almost revealed. If the White Fox refused to meet, it was not his fault. He would let the Witch of Shishan think of another way. Hurry up and call. Seeing that Zhang Tianhao agreed, the Witch of Shishan let out a sigh of relief. He sneered in his heart. After I kill the White Fox, it will be your turn. The moment Zhang Tianhao picked up the phone, he hung up the call with Xiao Qin and dialed again. Hello. Xiao Qin also cooperated and pretended to have just answered the call. What happened just now? Did it suddenly stop? Ah, it did. Zhang Tianhao was taken aback. He did not expect Xiao Qin to be so cooperative. However, he also heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that Xiao Qin had understood what he meant. Let's talk about the same thing as before. Can we meet? I want to thank you personally. Also, there's something else. Say it, Xiao Qin said. It's my girlfriend Ping Ping. I heard that Mr. White Fox is also proficient in medicine. Can you help me? Zhang Tianhao asked. Xiao Qin was speechless. Where did you hear this? His story was quite accurate. Oh, about that, I can't guarantee anything. What's wrong with your girlfriend? She was cut open by the evil practitioner and lost a lot of blood. Now she is in a vegetative state. She is not out of danger yet. Out of the ICU. Zhang Tianhao said. Well, that's fine. However, I am now on a mission. How about I contact you when I get back? Xiao Qin thought that he had to break through to the 5th level of the Qi refinement realm. His current strength was too weak. Of course, it would be better if he could reach the 6th floor, but he definitely couldn't delay it for that long. That evil cultivator's master was very anxious, and he estimated that he could only delay it for a few days. Okay, no problem. I'll wait for your call then? Zhang Tianhao replied. He was a little confused. Did that mean Xiao Qin had agreed? Did Xiao Qin have the strength to kill the evil cultivator's master? After hanging up the phone, Zhang Tianhao said to the Witch of Xishan, "You heard it," he agreed. "Very well, I'll leave you a phone number. If there's any news, contact me." Old Witch of West Mountain nodded. "But don't lie to me. You also know that although I may not be able to do anything to you if you mobilize all the guards of the Zhang family to protect you, don't forget that your girlfriend is still in the hospital. It's easy for me to kill her. I don't even need to kill her. I can directly destroy the power system of the hospital, haha. I know. Don't worry, when White Fox contacts me I'll tell you immediately," Zhang Tianhao said with a shiver in his heart. "Well, you are a smart person. I like to do things with smart people." After saying that, Old Witch of West Mountain flew out of the window and disappeared into the morning fog. After Old Witch of West Mountain left, Zhang Tianhao let out a long breath. His clothes were already soaked in cold sweat. Who said that he wasn't afraid of death? His determination just now was because he didn't want to cause trouble for Xiao Qin, but when he thought of Ping Ping in the hospital, Zhang Tianhao wanted to continue to wait for her. After a while, when he was sure that Old Witch of West Mountain had left, Zhang Tianhao dialed Xiao Qian's number again. "Mr. White Fox, I'm sorry to have caused you trouble," Zhang Tianhao said directly. "It doesn't matter. I killed his disciple, so it's natural for him to find me." Xiao Qin said, "But do you have any information about him? Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win every battle. So far, all I know is that his name is Old Witch of West Mountain, and he is a Stage 6 Inner Force evil cultivator." Zhang Tianhao said, "That's all I know. Mr. White Fox, thank you for avenging me, but if you can't, you'd better hide." "That's not necessary." Hearing that his opponent was only a Stage 6 Inner Force evil cultivator, Xiao Qin suddenly felt relieved. If it was a higher level, Xiao Qin would be a little afraid, but Xiao Qin soon broke through to the Stage 5 refinement stage. When he was at the Stage 4 refinement stage, Xiao Qin already had the strength of a Stage 5 Inner Force evil cultivator. Now that he was at the Stage 5 refinement stage, he should have some confidence. "Okay, I understand. I will contact you when the time comes." After hanging up the phone, Xiao Qin was thinking about whether he should face this matter with Yi Xiaoye or face it himself. When Yi Xiaoye teamed up with him, she didn't ask for any points and gave them all to him. Now that the evil cultivator's master was looking for trouble, if he looked for Yi Xiaoye, it would be a little unfair. Although Yi Xiaoye could share some of the pressure with Xiao Qin, Yi Xiaoye was only a Stage 4 Inner Force evil cultivator. He was afraid that not only would she not be able to help Xiao Qin, but she would also be a burden. Thinking of this, Xiao Qin wanted to remind Yi Xiaoye to be careful. Taking out his phone, Xiao Qin opened the app and sent a message to Yi Biya. "Hey, what are you doing?" "What else can I do? Of course I am practicing," Yi Xiaoye quickly replied. "I heard that the evil cultivator's master is called Old Witch of West Mountain. His disciple is dead, and Old Witch of West Mountain is ready to take revenge." Xiao Qin said. "What? Is it true? Old Demon of West Mountain?" After a while, Yi Xiaoye replied with a message. Obviously she was shocked. "The source of the news is more accurate. Do you know Old Witch of West Mountain?" Xiao Qin asked. "No way. You don't know? You look silly like a newcomer, but I didn't expect it to be true. Are you a disciple of the evil sect?" Yi Xiaoye sent a surprised expression. "No one has told me about this before. Tell me, what kind of person is this old demon Xishan?" Xiao Qin's heart trembled. This old demon Xishan seemed to be a very awesome person. Old Witch of West Mountain is the younger brother of Old Witch of West Mountain, who used to be powerful for decades. After Old Witch of West Mountain retired, Old Witch of West Mountain stepped into the martial world and set off a bloody storm for a while. Later, he was injured by the masters of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau and the Warrior Guild. Old Witch of West Mountain disappeared. I didn't expect him to come back. I don't know the details. Anyway, when I was a child, I didn't listen to my master when I was cultivating. He scared me and said that Old Witch of West Mountain was coming. Yi Xiaoye replied. This Old Witch of West Mountain could scare a child? That was a really awesome person. However, why was he only at Stage 6 of Inner Force? Therefore, Xiao Qin asked, then why is he only at Level 6 Inner Force? After being injured by a master, he escaped. But even if he didn't die, it's normal for his strength to fall. It's just that his disciple was a little too weak. Yi Xiaoye said. I guess he was killed by a difficult mission not long after he came out to train. If he had been targeting ordinary people, I guess he wouldn't have died so quickly. Xiao Qin said. That's true. Then you should be careful. Don't get caught by him. If you see his whereabouts, you must report it to the warrior guild and ask for protection. Yi Xiaoye said. I can report it and ask for protection? Xiao Qin was slightly stunned. Originally he wanted to remind Yi Xiaoye to be careful. He didn't expect Yi Xiaoye to remind him first. Yes, it's in the app. You can look for it, Yi Xiaoye said. Xiao Qin searched for a while and found an I want to report option. There was a note inside. When a martial artist encountered an evil force that he couldn't solve, he could seek help from the warrior guild. The warrior guild would decide whether to solve it or not according to the severity of the case. It could even cooperate with the masters from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau to solve it. However, what made Xiao Qin helpless was that to report a case to the warrior guild, he had to fill in his real identity information. This was a necessary first step. It was probably to prevent people from making a false report, right? However, Xiao Qin's identity couldn't be exposed. If his identity was exposed, it might be even more troublesome than Old Witch of West Mountain. He really couldn't seek help randomly. Then, are you going to report it? Xiao Qin asked Yi Xiaoye. I can't. Master doesn't allow me to reveal my real identity. Moreover, I'm going to break through in seclusion. I feel that I've already touched the barrier of stage 5 inner force. Yi Xiaoye said. Me too. I can't reveal it. Xiao Qin replied helplessly. Then we'll wait for the warrior guild to find out. As long as we hide well and don't go out, he won't be able to find us. If he appears frequently and is discovered by the warrior guild, they will automatically file a case and send masters to punish him. Yi Xiaoye said. All right. Xiao Qin said. You can stay at home in seclusion, but I can't. I have to go out every day. Fortunately, it was Xiao Qin's identity and not White Fox's identity. After chatting with Yi Xiaoye, it was almost time. Xiao Qin got up and went to see if there was anything he could help Missy. Qing Minjing and Jean Beibei got up early and started packing. Girls going to the seaside was like going on a trip. All kinds of sunscreen, clothes, hats, and mats had to be prepared. The two of them packed a big bag. Xiao Qin felt that the big bag could contain both of them. Hey Xiao Qin, you came just in time. Help me carry it. Qing Minjing pointed at the big bag on the ground and said. Oh. With Xiao Qin's current strength, it was easy for him to carry the big bag. Xiao Qin carried it on his shoulder effortlessly. Yi Xiaoye happened to come downstairs. When she saw Xiao Qin doing manual work, she was a little disdainful. Can't some people be more manly? Don't depend on others. Is it fun to serve two young ladies every day? What did you say? Who's a young lady? Qing Minjing glared at Yi Xiaoye and said angrily. Chapter 198. Qing Minjing had almost forgotten about Yi Xiaoye because of the time difference. Today was the weekend. When she saw Yi Xiaoye and thought of the previous conflict, Qing Minjing was full of anger at once. Whoever asks others to carry the bag can do it. If it were me, I would definitely carry it myself. Yi Xiaoye said. You can carry it? Qing Minjing didn't believe that Yi Xiaoye could carry the super big bag in front of her. You will know whether I can carry it or not after trying. Yi Xiaoye just didn't like Qing Minjing. She acted like a rich lady, but she had a good family background, didn't she? Xiao Qin had helped her, so she was naturally partial to Xiao Qin. She didn't want Xiao Qin to be bullied by her every day. Xiao Qin put it down. I will show it to her. Well, Xiao Qin was a little helpless. Others might not know, but he knew that Yi Xiaoye's strength. It was a piece of cake for her to carry it. Xiao Qin put down the travel bag, but Yi Xiaoye picked it up directly without any difficulty. She even raised it over her head and shook it as if it were air. Then she put it down on the ground. What do you say? Qing Minjing was dumbfounded. She didn't expect that Yi Xiaoye could carry it. Was the bag really not heavy? Qing Minjing tried to pick it up with her hands subconsciously, but she couldn't carry it at all. Cousin Minjing, she has the qualifications to be someone else's personal maid. We can't carry it. She might as well be a rich lady, Jean Beibei said. Qing Minjing's eyes glittered when she heard Jean Beibei's words. Right. She had regarded the word Miss Jiao as an insult to her, but on second thought, it was better to be a rich lady than to be a maid. Yi Xiaoye was destined to be a maid. Therefore she put her hands on her waist and said proudly, right? You can carry it, so what? It's because you don't have servants, but I do. Yes. Cousin Minjing, I'm just envious, jealous, and hateful. Look, her face is green. Jean Bebe nodded and said, You. Yi Xiaoya glared at Jean Bebe. Every time she had the upper hand in a quarrel with Cheng Minjing, she would be killed by Jean Bebe. Let's go. It's time for an outing. Some people don't have the chance to go. They can only play the real-life version of Happy Ranch at home and plant some flowers and plants. Jean Bebe hopped out of the villa. Cheng Minjing followed her. Looking at Yi Xiaoya, whose face had turned from green to black, Xiao Qin sighed and shrugged. Then he went out with the big bag. It was difficult to reason with Jean Bebe. Not to mention that Yi Xiaoya didn't even care about it at all. After they walked out of the villa, they saw that Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinping were already there. In the yard of the villa, an Audi Q7 and a minivan were parked. The Audi Q7, on the other hand, was brand new. Its shiny paint was shining brightly under the sun. On the other hand, the minivan beside it had been sold many times over the years. It was extremely tattered and the paint was peeling off. There was also a dent at the rear and the license plate was not hung properly. This car. Why is it so shabby? Cheng Minjing pointed at the van in the yard and was stunned. Where did you get it? Oh, this is my new car. Qin Jinping said in a hurry. I don't have much money recently. So, I borrowed the grocery cart from the restaurant in my family. In fact, even the grocery cart of the Qin family was better than this one. It was a modified RV. The minivan was bought by Qin Jinping at a second-hand market for 2,000 yuan. He was truly scared of Jean Bebe's tricks. He drove a luxury car, but he was tricked into buying it. Now that he had changed to a shabby car, Jean Bebe wouldn't be interested in it anymore, would she? Oh, that's great. Put everything in your car. Let's take the Q7. Jingxian, you and I will take the same car. Cheng Minjing said as she instructed Xiao Qin to put the travel bag in Qin Jinping's car. Where's my appearance fee? Xiao Qin placed his travel bag on the van and asked Qin Jinping, who had a bitter look on his face. Qin Jinping was very upset. Although he could avoid being tricked by Jean Bebe by changing to a shabby car, he could not sit in the same car with Qin Jingxian anymore. However, his car was too shabby, and he could not invite Cheng Minjing to get in. What appearance fee? Didn't I give you the money for the meal? Qin Jinping was stunned and said, Didn't you give me the appearance fee for the meal? Today is the appearance fee for the trip. I can buy 2 cars if you give me the money. Xiao Qin stretched out his hand and said, How much do you want this time? Brother Xiao, I'm so poor. Look at my car. It's of such a level. Where can I find the money? Qin Jinping complained about being poor. Oh, then I'll go to the morning market to sell fried dough sticks. Tang Tang is waiting for me. Xiao Qin said. No. Wait a minute. Let me see whether Brother Liang has money or not. This time, Qin Jinping and Chao Yuliang had planned to kill Xiao Qin. If Xiao Qin did not go, who else could they kill? Qin Jinping got out of the car and came to Chao Yuliang. He whispered something in his ear. Then Chao Yuliang's face changed. He did not expect that Xiao Qin had become so greedy. Why did he want so much money? Previously, Chao Yuliang did not think too much about it. However, now that he thought about it carefully, Xiao Qin kept asking for money, but it was useless. He had food and a place to stay, and Jean Bebe had tricked him into a car. He had everything. Why would he need money? And he was so greedy? Generally, people who desperately wanted money had a purpose. Xiao Qin, who had no purpose, wanted so much money. Chao Yuliang frowned slightly. But after thinking about it, Xiao Qin was going to die today. Why did he need money? Give him 500,000. Chao Yuliang whispered to Qin Jinping, You know the password of my card. Transfer it to him. Okay. Qin Jinping nodded. He returned to Xiao Qin and said, Brother Xiao, how about 500,000? I won't bargain with you. Let's fix the price. After all, it's 2 days and 1 night. Let's camp at the seaside tonight. Okay. In fact, Xiao Qin had already heard his and Chao Yuliang's whispers. With Xiao Qin's sharp ears, he could definitely hear it. But he was satisfied with 500,000. Including the 2,050,000 he had left, Xiao Qin had 2,500,000 in total. Even if he did not make a breakthrough with this medicine, he could make another one with more money. Qin Jinping breathed a sigh of relief and transferred the money to Xiao Qin. He was trying his best to comfort Xiao Qin. As long as Xiao Qin arrived at the seaside, it would be beyond his control. Li Shanning had arranged everything. At that time, Xiao Qin would be doomed. Xiao Qin sat in the passenger seat of the Audi Q7, while Cheng Minjing, Jean Bebe, and Qin Jingxian sat in the back row. Qin Jinping drove behind them. I used to think that Chao Yuliang could be my subordinate and drive for me. Now my wish has finally come true, Xiao Chen said after getting in the car. Ha. Chow Yuliang gave a hollow laugh and thought, I'll let you fulfill your wish before you die. You piece of trash, how can you compare with me? I'm willing to be Cheng Menjiang's driver. I can do it for the rest of my life. I already have a driver. I don't need you. Cheng Menjiang snorted and said, my driver must be able to do heavy work. He has to do all the dirty and tiring work. Then I can do it too. Chow Yuliang said hurriedly, Menjiang, you underestimate me. I can do whatever Xiao Chen can do. If you let me do it in the future, Xiao Chen won't have to do it anymore. He can be more free. That's great. Yangzi, I'll watch you show your power later. My cousin-in-law is quite lazy and doesn't want to work. He won't be willing to be a servant. I don't like lazy people either. Jean Bebe interrupted. Of course. I'm so hard-working. Chow Yuliang said, feeling good about himself. Xiao Chen couldn't help but sneer inwardly. This idiot. You'll cry when I tell you to work later. Seeing that the Miss and Jean Bebe were able to settle a free laborer with a few words, Lin Yi was more than happy. I don't want to be your servant. Who would want to work hard without pay? All right, Xiao Chen. I want to change my position with you. Chow Yuliang thought to himself. Xiao Chen really didn't know how lucky he was. However, Xiao Chen seemed to be having an affair with Jean Bebe right now, and there was nothing between him and Cheng Menjiang. Therefore it was normal that he didn't like Cheng Menjiang. The car left the city quickly. Xiao Chen had been taking a nap in the passenger seat, while Cheng Menjiang, Shin Jingxian, and Jean Bebe were whispering to each other, discussing what to do when they arrived at the seaside. In the beginning it was naturally on the way. However, when they arrived at the seaside road, there were more cars. It was the weekend, and most of them were tourists who came here for vacation. Self-driving tours were popular nowadays, so the roads were basically jammed. The car moved forward step by step. It was rare for it to move 20 meters smoothly. Xiao Chen, something's not right. Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice suddenly sounded next to Xiao Chen's ears. Xiao Chen immediately became alert and released his divine sense and mental strength. Did Chow Yuliang choose to take action here? Or did someone else want to take action against him? Of course, while releasing his divine sense, Xiao Chen was also secretly observing Chow Yuliang's movements. If it was Chow Yuliang's arrangement, there would definitely be something wrong. Although Chow Yuliang was good at disguising himself and had hidden his strength for so long, there would still be something wrong in this situation. Of course, if one did not pay attention, one would not notice it. However, Xiao Chen had been secretly paying attention to Chow Yuliang. Therefore, he found that Chow Yuliang had been secretly paying attention to the GPS in the car. Moreover, he had enlarged the map to a very large scale. He seemed to be looking for a location. Is he going to take action somewhere? Seeing Chow Yuliang's attention, Xiao Chen secretly became alert. Soon Chow Yuliang's car began to slow down. Originally he was closely following the car ahead, but now he had unknowingly pulled more than 10 meters away from the car ahead. Moreover, Chow Yuliang's car was also very slow. He kept moving forward slowly and leisurely. Chapter 199. After walking for a short distance, Chow Yuliang stopped the car. Although the car in front of him had stopped, it was still more than 10 meters away from him. It was almost 20 meters away. Xiao Chen's heart trembled. His divine sense immediately locked onto the top of the car, on top of an elevated railway bridge. If one didn't look carefully, most people would ignore this place. However, Xiao Chen saw that on top of the elevated railway bridge, there were a few people doing maintenance work. Of course, Xiao Chen didn't know if they were the real maintenance workers, but Xiao Chen didn't believe that the people doing the maintenance were experts of the 3rd or 4th level of inner strength. Normally, if a martial artist did not deliberately hide their inner strength, they would unconsciously bring out some inner strength when they raised their hands and feet, revealing their strength. However, ordinary people would definitely not be able to detect it. Only other martial artists would be able to sense it. Xiao Chen's divine sense felt that these people seemed to want to use something to attack the car below, which was the car that Xiao Chen was sitting in. If it was an ordinary person, throwing something from such a high altitude would definitely have a deviation. Even if it was falling vertically, it was hard to say where it would hit due to the direction of the wind and other factors. However, martial artists were different. With a martial artist's inner strength, although it couldn't be said to hit where it was pointed, if it was hit vertically, the accuracy could still reach 90%. If it was a person who had practiced, then it wouldn't be strange for them to hit 100%. Are they trying to kill me by throwing something from a high altitude? Xiao Chen realized that after Chow Yuliang failed to hire an assassin, he began to like to create accidents for himself. Is it because of the Jin family's announcement? Thinking about it, it was also possible. If he died accidentally, it had nothing to do with others. Even if the Golden Fur Lion King went crazy, it couldn't blame others. Even if Xiao Qin was a cultivator at the peak of the 4th level of the refinement stage, if he was hit by the Iron Throne from such a high altitude, he would definitely die. He would be directly smashed into a meat patty. Thinking of this, at the moment when the person above was about to throw, Xiao Qin seemed to inadvertently put his hand on the car and directly injected a trace of Yuan Qi into the car's accelerator pedal. The car, which was originally parked, suddenly moved forward until it passed a parking space before it stopped. Huh. Chao Yuliang was taken aback. You can even drive on flat ground? Qin Jinping, who was following behind, did not have a GPS in his car. He had been following Chao Yuliang's car the whole way. When he saw Chao Yuliang driving forward, he naturally followed suit. However, just as he followed, he heard a loud bang and felt the whole car shaking. A huge piece of metal smashed in through the roof and directly hit Qin Jinping's passenger seat. The passenger seat was dented and the piece of metal was smashed to the bottom of the car. The car was completely wrecked. F***ck. Qin Jinping broke out in a cold sweat. What was going on? Didn't Li Shanying say that he would smash Xiao Qin to death? Why did it hit his car? Luckily he was driving in a straight line. If he was a little crooked, wouldn't he be smashed to death? Qin Jinping quickly pushed the door and got out of the car. In front, Chao Yuliang was shocked when he heard the loud bang. He stopped the car and got out. When he saw Qin Jinping's smashed car, his face suddenly turned gloomy. This really smashed Xiao Qin. It almost smashed Qin Jinping to death. Chao Yuliang looked up. The people on the railway viaduct had already left. He didn't know where they went. He turned around and looked at Qin Jinping. If the car can't be driven, push it to the side of the road. You take the things down and sit in my car. Qin Jinping cursed Li Shanying in his heart for not keeping his word. At the same time he felt a little aggrieved. Can't I have a car that really belongs to me? Why can't I drive one? If it's not scammed away, it's smashed. Qin Jinping went to push the van to the side of the road. With his strength as a martial artist at the peak of the 2nd stage of inner force, it was easy. Although the previous accident seemed quite scary, there were no casualties, so no one stayed to watch the fun. They all bypassed and left. Carrying the bag, Qin Jinping walked to the Audi Q7. Chao Yuliang's car was a 5-door, 7-seater model. There were 2 seats in the last row, but the space wasn't that big. It was obviously uncomfortable to sit with the luggage, so Qin Jinping didn't want to sit. Xiao Qin, why don't you sit in the back? Qin Jinping thought about it and asked Xiao Qin. I'm not going. Xiao Qin directly refused. If you want to go, you go. If you don't want to go, then run with the car. Menjing, do you think the servants should sit in the back? Chao Yuliang also knew that Qin Jinping was angry and panicked now. It was indeed not good to let him sit in the back, so he wanted to ask Qin Menjing. The servants don't have to go. Cousin-in-law, why don't you go home? Since this car is so crowded. Jin Beibei said. I'll sit in the back. Qin Jinping took a deep breath. He asked Qin Menjing and Xin Jingshen to get out of the car and jump to the back. What a joke. It was not easy to get Xiao Qin here with 500,000 yuan. If Xiao Qin went back, who would be the one to kill? If I don't sit in the back, where should I sit? Liangzi, you can't do it. You don't have any self-awareness. When you were working for me, you never dared to provoke me. How dare you pretend to be awesome now? Xiao Qin patted Chao Yuliang's shoulder and said, besides, your car doesn't seem to work very well. I remember that Jin Beibei's family has a similar car, which also moves forward on its own. Is yours the same? Chao Yuliang's heart suddenly palpitated, and his face almost turned green. No, this car belongs to my family. Oh, do you want to check the vehicle license? Xiao Qin asked. No need. I didn't bring it. Chao Yuliang was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He suddenly realized that the current Xiao Qin was even more troublesome, shameless, and difficult to deal with than the previous Xiao Qin. He had been driven out of the family. Where did he get the confidence to go against me? However, as it happened, Chao Yuliang couldn't do anything about Xiao Qin at all. Qin Jinping got in the car and crouched in the back with a lot of travel bags. He couldn't have felt more uncomfortable. Seeing that Xiao Qin was enjoying the air conditioner in the front and taking a rest leisurely, Qin Jinping was so cramped that he didn't even have the space to move. He was a little resentful. Xiao Qin was already nothing, yet he was still so cool and awesome. Why was he doing this? His thoughts were similar to Chao Yuliang's. Logically, Xiao Qin should be someone who could be trampled on easily, but he seemed to be even more awesome than before. In the past, Chao Yuliang had dared to go against him. But now Chao Yuliang almost listened to him. He gave him money and a car as if he was serving a master. Wow. Qin Jinping swore in his heart that he would definitely pay back the humiliation Xiao Qian had given him. When Xiao Qian died, he would whip his corpse to vent his hatred. What happened just now? Those workers were too careless. Why didn't we wait for the traffic police to come and sue their company? Xin Jingxian didn't know what had happened. She thought it was really an accident. However, Qing Minjing and Jin Beibei didn't think so. How could there be so many accidents? However, how could Xiao Qian be so lucky to avoid it? If Chao Yuliang's car had moved back a few spaces, the person it would have hit would have been Xiao Qian. Who knows? It's fine if there are no casualties. We can't afford to waste time. Didn't you see those workers ran away? I guess they are all temporary workers. It will take a long time to sue their company. We still have to go out and have fun. Chao Yuliang explained. Right. Forget it. Anyway, I only spent 2,000 yuan on the car. I will buy another one when I come back. Qin Jinping also said. They didn't dare to tell the truth. There were no more accidents along the way. However, when they arrived at the seaside scenic area, Chao Yuliang didn't stop the car. Instead, he kept driving forward. The further they went, the less people there were. Further ahead was the dangerous water area. There were warning signs on the roadside. The water was deep and the reefs were deep. Further ahead, there was a bigger warning sign. Dangerous aquatic creatures may appear in the area ahead. Please do not swim. Generally, there would be protective nets at the seaside to prevent large aquatic creatures from swimming over. In the swimming area, there would be several layers of protective nets to prevent sharks from getting in. However, in other areas, especially dangerous ones, the protective nets were not so strict. Many times it was possible for the protective nets to break down. After all, it was impossible to inspect and repair them every day. They could only check them periodically. I'm told that there are sharks around here. Chao Yuliang pointed at a seaside area not far away and said, the fishing boats and fishing guns have been rented. They should have been delivered, right? Beibei, it seems to be quite dangerous here. Are we really going to stay here? Qing Minjing was somewhat worried after what had happened earlier. She was afraid that Chao Yuliang would do something against Xiao Qian. It's not a problem, is it? We are not going into the sea directly. Jin Beibei got out of the car and walked to the seaside. The sea, you are so king big. Qing Minjing was speechless. Then she heard Xiao Qian say, the sky, you are so king blue. Ah. Jin Beibei immediately burst into laughter. Only Xiao Qian could cooperate with her every day. Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinping looked at each other. As they expected, there was something wrong between Xiao Qian and Jin Beibei. Both of them were crazy when it came to tricking others. *CK, I'll kill you together when I have the chance, you shameless couple. Qin Jinping secretly spat. I'll go and ask when the boat rental company will deliver the boat. As Chao Yuliang spoke, he returned to the car and prepared to make a call. In fact, he was calling Li Shanning. Qin Jinping understood tacitly. He was afraid that Xiao Qian would come to move the things, so he immediately went ahead of him. Okay, I'll go and move the things. After the call went through, Chao Yuliang asked in a low voice, Young Master Shanning, what's going on today? Young Master Chao, why are you asking me? My people are all ready. Why are you driving forward? Li Shanning asked back. Chapter 200. The car suddenly slipped forward. I didn't mean it. Chao Yuliang smiled bitterly. But Jinping's car followed. Why did you make a move? Can you take back the water that has been spilled? Li Shanning said, all right, there is still a plan. The boat will be delivered soon. Just wait. All right, young Master Li. Chao Yuliang hung up the phone and glanced at Qin Jinping. It was my mistake today. The car slipped. They didn't have time to react. I see. Qin Jinping's heart was filled with resentment. *CK, it was better to follow Xiao Qian. At least Xiao Qian didn't almost kill me. Following you, this mistake almost killed me. However, in comparison, Qin Jinping hated Xiao Qian more. He could only think about it. Besides, what happened today was also Li Shanning's fault. What kind of lousy plan was that? It was easier to use a sniper rifle than to throw an object from a high altitude. Of course, in many cases, the martial arts families had to abide by the rules of the martial arts families. Although they were strong, they couldn't openly break the rules of the secular world. Living in the secular world, They had to accept the dual management of the Warrior Guild and the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. When they didn't violate the rules, the Warrior Guild might ignore them. However, if they really violated the rules, they would have to bear the consequences. Not to mention that they would send experts to deal with you. Even if they blocked your points and account in the Warrior Guild, it would be enough to make you suffer. Which martial arts family could bypass the Warrior Guild and exist alone? Perhaps the colorful Li family couldn't, and the Chao family and Qin family in Songning also couldn't. Qin Jinping was just fantasizing about it. He could kill Xiao Qian, but he couldn't break the rules of the secular world. It's okay. Li Shanning will send the fishing boat in a while. At that time, it will be easier to feed him to the sharks. Chao Yuliang said faintly, "Don't blame me for what happened today. I want to kill Xiao Qian more than you do. I suspect that Xiao Qian did something to the car." Hearing Chao Yuliang's explanation, Qin Jinping suddenly remembered that his car's license had turned into Jin Beibei. Could it be that Xiao Qian really knew some tricks like magic? It was really possible. In this way, Qin Jinping didn't have such a big grudge against Chao Yuliang. He had to admit that Chao Yuliang was a scheming person. He pretended to be a playboy and hid his strength for so many years with Xiao Qian's. Qing Minjing pretended to be careless. She walked past Xiao Qian and kicked the sand on the beach. "Ah, there's a shell, it's pricking me to death. Xiao Qian, quickly help me pull it out." "Xiao Qian. Okay." Xiao Qian was dazed for a moment and bent down. Right when Xiao Qian bent down, Qing Minjing said in a low voice, "Hey, be careful later. Don't tell me that you don't know who the big iron block that fell was for." "I know, but I'm used to it." "It's okay." Xiao Qian reached out to take off Qing Minjing's sandals indifferently. "That's unnecessary." Qing Minjing withdrew her foot and dodged. She was just making up a random excuse. Men and women should not touch each other. She was not happy to let Xiao Qian touch her foot. Also, seeing that the guy did not care at all and regarded her kindness as malice, she was quite angry. After hanging up the phone and moving the stuff, Chao Yuliang saw the scene not far away. A vague smile flashed on his lips. It seemed that Qing Minjing did not treat Xiao Qian well at all. She was also on guard against him and would not let him take advantage of her. Now, it seemed that if Xiao Qian died, Qing Minjing would not retaliate too much. The only unstable factor was Jin Beibei. It would be great if Jin Beibei died too. Very soon, Li Shanning's men arrived with 2 fishing boats. Qin Jinping pretended to sign a contract. Then Li Shanning's men left, leaving the fishing boats behind. "Boss Xiao Qian, do you want to go fishing or not?" After Qin Jinping rented the fishing boats, he turned around and asked Xiao Qian, who was not far away, "There are 2 fishing boats. Let's each take one, shall we?" "No, you go by yourself. I'm tired." Xiao Qian would not go if there was no benefit in it. Besides, who knew if there was something wrong with the boat? Was it a trick to trap him? Well, Qin Jinping was a little confused. He turned around and looked at Chao Yuliang. In the past, Xiao Qian was a man who liked to show off very much. Especially in front of Xin Jingxian, he would rush to go fishing. But now, it was really hard for him to understand. Originally, when Chao Yuliang took Qin Jinping as his underling, he wanted to humiliate Xiao Qian. Secondly, because he had followed Xiao Qian for so many years, he thought that Xiao Qian knew Xiao Qian very well. As the saying goes, know yourself and know your enemy and you will never be defeated. But now it seemed that this idiot did not know Xiao Qian as well as he did. Chao Yuliang gave Qin Jinping a look, then pointed in the direction of Xin Jingxian. Qin Jinping knew that Chao Yuliang wanted to make Xin Jingxian say a few words, using a honey trap or something, but Qin Jinping had his own difficulties. He couldn't order Xin Jingxian at all. She didn't listen to him. If Xin Jingxian could help them to harm Xiao Qian would have been dead long ago. "Boss Xiao Qian, didn't you like to show off in front of Xin Jingxian the most?" Qin Jinping couldn't persuade Xin Jingxian. In desperation, he could only run to Xiao Qian's side and whispered, "Think about it. When Xin Jingxian sees your heroic appearance, she might. Are you an idiot?" Xiao Qian glanced at Qin Jinping. "I found out that you followed Chao Yuliang for a while and your brain was damaged. You like to be cuckolded, right? Do you mean to make your fiancé like me?" This? Qin Jinping was not a smart person. Otherwise he wouldn't be willing to be a lackey. He thought of this after being reminded by Xiao Qian. Before, he was thinking about Xiao Qian's previous performance and ignored that he had become Xin Jingshuan's fiancé. "Jingxian, Jinping wants me to show off my ability to catch fish in front of you. He wants you to see how valiant I look. What do you think?" Before Qin Jinping could reply, Xiao Qian turned to look at Xin Jingxian, who was chatting with the young mistress not far away. "Ah. Xin Jingxian was stunned, but when she saw Qin Jinping's embarrassed look, she knew that Xiao Qin might not be talking nonsense. She hated Qin Jinping even more, but she quickly figured out the key point. Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinping had been plotting to kill Xiao Qin. They didn't succeed last time, so they definitely wouldn't let it go. Although she wasn't clear about the plan this time, it seemed to be related to fishing. Otherwise, Qin Jinping wouldn't do this kind of action. It seems that your fiancé is very supportive of me. Then I will reluctantly go fishing. Xiao Qin said faintly. Qin Jinping wanted to say support my ass, but he didn't dare to say it. If he said it and Xiao Qin didn't go, then he would bear the humiliation for nothing. But you have to go far away to fish. Where are the sharks near the shore? Why don't you let Xin Jingxian sit on my boat? Otherwise, she won't be able to see my heroic appearance, and I won't have the motivation to fish. Xiao Qin suggested. Qin Jinping cursed in his heart. Let you and Xin Jingxian on the boat? Then wouldn't I be unable to take off my green hat? Thinking of this, Qin Jinping quickly said, No need, I will also go out to sea. I will drive the boat and pull her and follow behind you. Okay, do as you wish. Although Xiao Qin said so, he had a question mark in his heart. Earlier, he had asked Xin Jingxian to get on his boat because he wanted another protection. After all, the ocean was not like the continent. If she fell into the ocean, even though Xiao Qin was a cultivator, it would be difficult for him to deal with it. The best protection here was undoubtedly Xin Jingxian. If she went, Qin Jinping and Chao Yuliang would definitely be against her together with him. As for the eldest lady, Chao Yuliang had been crazy enough to kill her last time. Only Xin Jingxian of the Shen family could scare Chao Yuliang. Although the Shen family was not a local family in Songning City, they were certainly not to be messed with. The Shen family was the birthplace of the Shen family, and they were deeply connected to the Warriors Guild. It was impossible for Chao Yuliang to be reckless. Before, Xiao Qin had thought that Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinping would play tricks on the boat, but it did not seem to be the case. Qin Jinping was going to go to sea with them too. Was there something wrong with only one boat? Seeing that Xiao Qin was going to go fishing for Xin Jingxian, Qing Minjing was more than infuriated. Why were you never so agile when I asked you to do anything? Xin Jingxian asked you to go fishing because of your valiant appearance? How infuriating. She did not know if he was really stupid or just pretending to be stupid. I already told him that there might be danger, but he was still fooled because he was obsessed with Xin Jingxian and ignored my advice. Qing Minjing did not think that Xin Jingxian was bad, but she was Xiao Qin's fiancée. Then shall we go to sea now? Qin Jinping wanted to end the battle quickly. Brother Liang will start the fire by the shore. Okay. Xiao Qin nodded indifferently. Chao Yuliang originally wanted to go to sea with Qin Jinping, but the fishing boat was a small one, and there was only space for 2 people on it, so he could only start the fire by the shore. In fact, starting a fire was not an easy job, especially when traveling. They would buy high-density compressed charcoal, which was very difficult to ignite. Even martial artists could not do it well and could only blow on it while lighting it. However, Chao Yuliang had boasted that he could do anything. Moreover, how could he let Xiao Qin do it? Then how could he kill him? Hey Bebe, Xiao Qin is too unreliable. He can't risk his life for Xin Jingxian, can he? Qing Minjing complained to Jean Bebe unhappily. Oh, cousin Minjing is jealous. Jean Bebe said with a smile. Why are you not nervous? Not angry? Don't you like him? Qing Minjing was a little curious about Jean Bebe's attitude. It was impossible for her not to see through Chao Yuliang's scheme. Don't worry. Brother-in-law is a transformer. It's fine. Jean Bebe, on the other hand, believed in Xiao Qin. In her opinion, Xiao Qin only agreed to go fishing because he was confident. Besides, he is fishing for me. Why should I be angry? Chapter 201. Qing Minjing couldn't understand Jean Bebe's logic. Where did she get her confidence from? He's obviously trying to please Xin Jingxian. He's fishing for Bebe. Cousin-in-law is the best to Bebe. Xin Jingxian is just an excuse. Jean Bebe said. You're really confident. Qing Minjing shook her head, feeling a little dissatisfied. This Xiao Qin is good to Xin Jingxian, Jean Bebe, Tang Tang and Kerlin, but not me. Although Xin Jingxian wasn't willing to go out to sea with Qin Jinping, she was also a little worried about Xiao Qin. She really wanted to persuade Xiao Qin not to do so, but Qin Jinping was next to him. She couldn't say anything, so she could only follow and see if there was anything she could help with. Boss Xiao Qin, which boat do you want? Qin Jinping pointed at the 2 fishing boats on the beach and asked. "Oh, I want this one." Xiao Qin pointed at one of the boats and said. "Eh." Qin Jinping nodded and was about to go to the other boat. "Wait, I still want this one. This one's number is cooler, 18. It's going to be rich. The previous one was 13. Doesn't it mean it's going to flip? It's inauspicious." Xiao Qin changed to the other boat. "Oh, that's fine too." Qin Jinping didn't care so much. In his opinion, Xiao Qin couldn't escape the fate of flipping over no matter which boat he chose. However, Xiao Qin was surprised. It seemed that Qin Jinping and Xiao Yuliang didn't do anything to the fishing boat. Xiao Qin changed boats temporarily to test whether there was a problem with one of the boats. But in the end, there shouldn't be any problems. With Qin Jinping scheming, it was impossible for him to not reveal anything. If it had been Xiao Yuliang, Xiao Qin wouldn't have been so sure, but how could he not know what kind of person Qin Jinping was? After following him for so long, how could he not know? He was completely a villain with no shrewdness. Xiao Qin boarded the fishing boat 18 and adjusted the machine. This fishing boat was not much different from the previous speedboat. Xiao Qin also joined a yacht club before, so he was naturally familiar with it. However, this kind of small fishing boat was still very dangerous when going into the sea. It was fine if it encountered a shark, but if it encountered a group of sharks, it would definitely die because this boat was too small to withstand the attack. Duck, duck, duck. The sound of the motor sounded and Xiao Qin drove the fishing boat into the sea. Qin Jinping also carried Xin Jingxian and followed Xiao Qin into the sea. Umph. Qing Minjing snorted coldly. "It's okay. Cousin-in-law can handle it." Jean Beibei said indifferently. Since she discovered a lot of shocking things, she had full confidence in Xiao Qin. "If he dies, who will cook for us?" Qing Minjing was a little absent-minded. On the surface, Xiao Yuliang was trying to make a fire, but he was secretly observing Xiao Qin and Qin Jinping. Seeing that they had successfully entered the sea, a smile flashed across his mouth. Although there might be sharks in the nearby sea, it was not certain that there would be. After all, even if there was a hole in the protective net, a shark would have to be able to get in before the patrolling people found it. Otherwise, the shark would definitely be searched and driven back. Xiao Qin drove the fishing boat into the sea and wandered aimlessly. Although he had not used a fishing gun, the principle of this thing was relatively simple. He just needed to shoot at sharks. With Xiao Qin's current strength, he could easily control it. Moreover, Xiao Qin's six senses were powerful, so his accuracy was not worse than those professional fishermen. Qin Jinping leisurely followed behind Xiao Qin. His purpose was not to catch sharks but to witness Xiao Qin's death. He did not know if the people arranged by Li Shanning had arrived yet. Although Xiao Qin was going to die, Qin Jinping could not help but belittle him. Jingxian looked at Xiao Qin. "He likes to show off. I guess he has never touched a fishing gun before. Now that you want to see it, he shows off. This kind of person is really unreliable." Don't say that about Xiao Qin, who doesn't have a young and aggressive time. Although Xin Jingxian said so, she was very puzzled. That night, when Xiao Qin sent her home, his words and actions did not show any desire for her. So, how could Xiao Qin show off in front of her to fish? It was completely unrealistic. Could it be that Xiao Qin deliberately pretended before to attract her attention, and when he realized that he failed to attract her attention, he started to attract her attention again? Xin Jingxian felt that Xiao Qin should not be so bored. If Xin Jingxian did not have that night's contact, she might think so. But now Xin Jingxian felt that Xiao Qin did things with a purpose. He would not do things that did not benefit him, and it was impossible for him to take risks for a girl. But Qin Jinping wanted to say that it was not worth it to lose his life because of a young and aggressive time, but he stopped in time. If Xin Jingxian knew the truth, it would be a big deal. She was not one of them, so she could not tell Qing Minjing. Just as they were talking, Qin Jinping heard the sound of a motor in the distance. He turned his head and couldn't help but be happy. Two yachts were speeding in this direction. These two yachts were driven by Li Shanning and Lin Chao. Not only was Lin Chao good at racing, but he was also good at racing. Li Shanning was a martial artist, so he could drive a yacht. But in today's plan, he was only an assistant, and Lin Chao was the executor. These two yachts were modified. They were very sturdy, especially the bow. The balancing ability was also modified. This was a yacht used in the underground racing black market to participate in the underground competition. If it was not sturdy, it would not be able to participate at all. It would have been smashed by others. Both of them were wearing large sunglasses, so from the appearance they would not be recognized. Moreover, Xiao Qin and Xin Jingxian had not seen Lin Chao and Li Shanning, so they would not suspect their origin. "Hey buddy, let's have a match?" Lin Chao shouted to Xiao Chen from afar. Xiao Chen glanced at the yacht that Lin Chao and Li Shanning were driving over. He could not help but frown. Where did these two people come from? What are they doing here? This was a dangerous area nearby. Xiao Chen did not believe that these two people did not know. Wasn't it crazy to drive the yacht so far? Not interested. Xiao Chen said faintly. F***ck, you guys are quite arrogant, huh? Lin Chao spat out a swear word sarcastically. What? Are you looking down on your brother? There is also a little girl here. She is quite pretty. Li Shanning also came over at this time and said, let's have a match? Win 100,000 yuan or the little girl can stay. The little girl was naturally Xin Jingxian. Qin Jinping also had the mentality of watching a show at this time. He pretended to be angry and said to Xiao Chen, Boss Xiao Chen, let's have a match with them. F***ck, how dare they make fun of your goddess? Isn't that your fiancée? Did you give her to me? Xiao Chen glanced at Qin Jinping and understood in his heart. These two people were most likely sent by Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinping to deal with him. They threw him into the water in this sea in the middle of nowhere. With his previous strength, even if the sharks did not come, there was absolutely no possibility of survival. F***ck, what's wrong? Are you ignoring me? Lin Chao saw that Xiao Chen did not pay attention to him, and suddenly became angry. He came to cause trouble. Of course, he would not let go of this opportunity to cause trouble. He circled the yacht around Xiao Chen's fishing boat and then scolded, one sentence, do you want to compete? Xiao Chen knew that whether he competed or not, the other party would play tricks. It was meaningless. It was better not to compete. He wanted to see what tricks the other party could play, so he said lightly, I am catching sharks. I don't have time to care about you. If you are willing to compete, look, that guy is more excited than me. Go to him. Xiao Chen pointed in the direction of Qin Jinping and said, quite arrogant, huh? You don't want to compete, right? Lin Chao started the yacht and directly crashed in the direction of Xiao Chen. Although Xiao Chen did not know how to race an underground boat, it was the same as driving. Xiao Chen was already familiar with the operation of the fishing boat. He could do some very precise control, but he was not willing to show it before. Now that Lin Chao rushed over, Xiao Chen instantly calculated the distance and time. He directly turned the bow and dodged it easily. Lin Chao was slightly stunned. He did not expect that not only did Xiao Chen know how to race, but he also drove the yacht very well. This was a bit rare. Generally, these young masters played with cars. Those who played with yachts only knew how to drive. They did not have the movements and reactions of these underground racing boats. However, Xiao Chen's reaction was very fast, which surprised Lin Chao a little. However, he was not worried. Racing in the sea was different from racing on land. Their yacht was professionally modified. Whether it was speed or flexibility, it was higher than Xiao Chen's. If they really competed, he and Li Shanning attacked Xiao Chen from the front and back. No matter how good Xiao Chen was, he could not escape. The yacht's performance was there. You could not surpass it no matter what. Tuck tuck tuck. Lin Chao swung the tail and changed the direction of the yacht. He rushed toward Xiao Chen again. Xiao Chen still avoided it easily. At this moment, Lin Chao was really angry. He no longer played with Xiao Chen. He crashed toward Xiao Chen horizontally. Xiao Chen could easily avoid it, but if he chased from behind vertically, it would be difficult for Xiao Chen to avoid it. You really have some skills? Li Shanning also started the yacht at this time and chased after Xiao Chen. Seeing this situation, Xiao Chen immediately cried out inwardly. When he was racing, his car was professionally modified. It was not a problem for him to win against Li Shantao. However, in the sea this fishing boat was not as nimble. Its speed was also slow. He could barely avoid a person chasing after him, but if two people attacked at the same time, he would not be able to handle it. It was not realistic to simply rely on technology to avoid because the opponent's technology was not bad. The yacht was obviously several times better than Xiao Chen's fishing boat. What should I do? Xiao Chen's mind raced. Previously he was thinking that Chao Yuliang had done something to the yacht, but he didn't expect that he would get two people to attack him. Chapter 202. This is Xiao Qin, a descendant of the Xiao family in Songning. I am Qin Jinping, a descendant of the Qin family in Songning. How dare you all be so arrogant here? Qin Jinping must reveal his identity at the right time so that it would seem that he didn't know these people, and it was also to help Xiao Chen. Otherwise he wouldn't be the only one here. Xin Jingxian was also watching. If Xin Jingxian went back and talked nonsense, then Qin Jinping would be in trouble. But now it wasn't that Qin Jinping didn't care, but he did care. As for whether the other party believed it or not, it wasn't something that Qin Jinping could control. It had to be said that at the critical moment, Qin Jinping was still very cunning. Even he himself admired his wit a little. Songning Shao family? Qin family? I haven't heard of it. Lauer, have you heard of it? Li Shanning turned to look at Lin Chao. No, who knows what kind of small family in a bumpkin place. It has nothing to do with our Golden Bell sect. Lin Chao said. Golden Bell sect? Xiao Qin was slightly stunned. What kind of place is that? Sounds like a sect. Could it be that these two people have some kind of background? However, Xiao Qin didn't quite believe it. Could Chao Yuliang invite people with some kind of background? I don't care if you are from the Golden Bell sect or the Silver Bell sect. I am a martial artist at the peak of the second stage of inner force. I order you to stop attacking boss Xiao Qin immediately. Otherwise, I won't be polite. Qin Jinping shouted. Idiot. Lin Chao scolded disdainfully and continued to charge at Xiao Qin. Li Shanning also came to help. The two people didn't seem to care about the identity of the Xiao family and the Qin family at all. What should we do, Jingxian? These two aren't afraid, but they seem to be fighting with boss Xiao Qin. Qin Jinping said to Xin Jingxian with a bitter face in order to make it more realistic. Little did he know that he was too clever for his own good. Xin Jingxian knew that Qin Jinping plotted to kill Xiao Qin last time, so he should be happy that these people targeted Xiao Qin. How could he still have this expression? Therefore, Xin Jingxian had some doubts about the purpose of these two people. Could it be that they were also invited by Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinping? However, even if Xin Jingxian guessed, she didn't have any evidence. At this moment she couldn't help Xiao Qin. She could only worry secretly. She took out her phone and wanted to inform Qing Minjing to send someone over. However, she found that there was no signal at all. It was a blind spot. Shark. Xiao Qin had been looking for the shark for a long time, but the shark didn't appear. He didn't expect that the shark would appear by itself. However, it was hard to say if the shark really appeared on its own or if the two of them had brought it here. It was obvious that the two of them wanted to overturn his boat and make him fall into the sea. Since the shark had coincidentally appeared, Xiao Qin could not help but be suspicious. Elder Heaven Ancestor, what should I do now? Xiao Qin asked in a hurry. He had never encountered this kind of situation before. This was different from the fight on the land. If he was not careful, he would fall into the sea. What should I do? What else can I do? Fall into the sea and kill the shark, then swim back. Elder Heaven Ancestor said indifferently. Shark? Kill it? Xiao Qin was slightly dazed. With your strength at the peak of level 4 of Qi refining stage, you still can't kill a shark. You are too weak. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. How can I kill it? Even a level 5 inner strength martial artist might not be able to kill it, right? Xiao Qin smiled bitterly. I can't affect the will of a high-level martial artist, but isn't it easy to affect a shark with no IQ? Elder Heaven Ancestor said indifferently, if I make it motionless, can you kill it? I can definitely. Xiao Qin was a bit speechless. Don't mention a shark, even if there was a more ferocious beast there and made it motionless, Xiao Qin would still be able to kill it easily. At most, he would just have to hit it a few more times. Then that's it. Elder Heaven Ancestor said, what are you worried about? I'm worried. I might not be able to swim. Xiao Qin said. You can hold your breath for an hour and you won't die. After you improved your 6 senses in level 2 of Qi refining stage, you can hold your breath for an hour. Elder Heaven Ancestor said with some disappointment, besides, sharks have low IQ. Are you also low IQ? What is your Yuan Qi used for? Don't you know that it can be converted into oxygen? Yes, it can be converted. Xiao Qin was shocked, but he smiled bitterly. I've only been cultivating for less than a month. Give me some time to adapt. So, you might as well kill that Qin brat by throwing him into the sea. Elder Heaven Ancestor said, his brother died in a car accident. I think it's a good idea to let him die in a boat accident. Xiao Qin didn't expect Elder Heaven Ancestor to be so black-bellied. In fact, he didn't know that Elder Heaven Ancestor was also a ruthless person who killed people without blinking an eye. However, Elder Heaven Ancestor's suggestion was good, but Xiao Qin was a bit worried. What about Xin Jingxian? Isn't that your goddess? Don't say she isn't, I can read your memory. Elder Heaven Ancestor directly blocked Xiao Qin's possibility of replying. Don't you know how to be a hero and save the damsel in distress? Then take her to a small island and take her down. And that Qin brat wore a green hat before he died, so he won't have to worry about not having a green hat anymore. Pfft. Xiao Chen realized that Elder Heaven Ancestor was quite sarcastic. Of course, although Xiao Chen wasn't as wretched as Elder Heaven Ancestor, he didn't plan to let Qin Jinping go. He couldn't hold on for long. Although he dodged here and there with his powerful boat skills, Xiao Chen knew that he couldn't hold on for long. This wasn't something that could be done with human strength. Although he could set up illusions, the location of the illusions was fixed. When the motorboat sailed past the location of the illusions, there wouldn't be any more illusions. Xiao Chen couldn't keep setting them up. It wouldn't take long for his vitality to be exhausted. The sea was completely different from land. Even if they rushed into the illusions, they would at most cause a temporary loss, but there wouldn't be any danger to their lives. Damn. There's a shark. Qin Jinping didn't expect that there would really be a shark in the sea, and he was shocked. He was simply here to join in the fun. At this time, Li Shanning and Lin Chao were besieging Xiao Chen. If he went to catch the shark now, it would be equivalent to looking for death. Li Shanning and Lin Chao didn't care about Qin Jinping's words, but Xiao Chen heard it. A sneer flashed across the corner of his mouth. He had already made a plan in his heart. The shark was obviously very hungry. It couldn't get out of this area of the sea, and it couldn't find the entrance that it came from. However, there wasn't anything that it could eat in the coastal waters, so it was very hungry. Coincidentally, this shark belonged to the group that had some intelligence. When it saw the small boat drifting on the sea, it swam towards the small boat, wanting to overturn the yacht. Qin Jinping was shocked. The other people's yachts were moving, but only his was parked in the middle of the sea, so it naturally became the shark's first target. Therefore, Qin Jinping quickly started the yacht. He didn't dare to go head-on with the shark, but he didn't dare to drive too fast. He could only move slowly to avoid the shark. He was afraid that if he drove too fast, it would affect Lin Chao and Li Shanying's plan to collide with Xiao Chen. Jinping, tell them that the shark is here, so stop fooling around. Otherwise, if the boat overturns, no one will benefit. Qin Jingshan said to Qin Jinping. Oh. Qin Jinping responded, but he didn't have time to care about Xiao Chen's matter. He was afraid that he would be knocked into the sea, and that would be F***ed. However, what made Qin Jinping a little surprised was that Xiao Chen suddenly changed the direction of the fishing boat and rushed towards Qin Jinping. Qin Jinping was shocked and quickly dodged. He cursed in his heart. This Xiao Chen, he doesn't want to live anymore, but he still wants to implicate me. What King D***ck? Just as he was about to dodge, he suddenly realized that the direction he was dodging was the direction of the shark that was about to attack him. This made him almost pee in his pants. Just as Qin Jinping didn't know what to do, Xiao Chen's yacht suddenly changed direction and went around him. It was just like drifting in a race car. It was very rare to be able to do this. After all, only professional rowers could do it. In the water, it wasn't like on land. The yacht was harder to control than a car. Phew. Qin Jinping breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that with the goddess Qin Jingshan on the boat, Xiao Chen still had to be careful. However, just as Qin Jinping breathed a sigh of relief, he was screwed. Lin Chao was a professional rower, so Xiao Chen went around Qin Jinping and he also went around Qin Jinping. However, Li Shanning, who was running neck and neck with him, wasn't so lucky. On his left was Lin Chao. He subconsciously wanted to dodge to the right, but he found that there was a shark in front of him. He quickly turned the rudder, but it was too late. So, with a loud bang, his yacht directly hit Qin Jinping's fishing boat. Li Shanning's yacht was specially modified with the purpose of killing Xiao Chen. As a result, it hit Qin Jinping's side. Qin Jinping's fishing boat was the same as Xiao Chen's. It wasn't very sturdy, so the result was a tragedy. Qin Jinping's yacht was directly hit and sent flying. After it fell into the water, it flipped over. At the same time, Xiao Chen slowed down to avoid Qin Jinping. So, after Lin Chao caught up, he directly hit Xiao Chen's yacht and sent it flying. Splash. Xiao Chen also fell into the water. Qin Jingshan screamed. She didn't know how to swim, so she struggled a few times in the sea and was about to sink. Although Qin Jinping knew how to swim, he panicked at this time. When he remembered to save Qin Jingshan, the two of them were already very far away. So, he watched as Qin Jingshan sank into the sea. As for Xiao Chen, although he could float to the surface of the water, he didn't do so. If he fell into the water, he would directly sink. He was afraid that if he surfaced, Lin Chao would hit him again. He would be depressed. When flesh and blood collided with a yacht, it was inevitable that he would be injured. Even if Xiao Chen could recover quickly, he was in the sea. If Qin Jinping took the opportunity to shoot him with a fishing rod, it would be a tragedy. If Qin Jinping died, then so be it. It had nothing to do with Xiao Chen, but Xin Jingxian was innocent. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen quickly swam in the direction where Xin Jingxian fell into the water. Chapter 203. Save me, there are sharks. There are sharks. Although Qin Jinpeng could swim, the key problem was that there were sharks in the sea. Li Shaniying frowned. To be honest, if Qin Jinpeng died together, it didn't have much to do with him. But when he thought of Chao Yuliang, he also drove the motorboat to Qin Jinpeng's side and said, "Climb up yourself." Qin Jinpeng was a martial artist at the peak of the second stage of internal force. It was easy for him to jump onto the yacht from the sea. He quickly got on the boat and shivered. He suddenly thought of Xin Jingxian and quickly said, "Young Master Li, save Jingxian. She is my fiancée." Save her? Looking at her appearance just now, she obviously doesn't know, right? What if we save her? We obviously wanted to kill you and now we save you. Do you think she won't suspect anything? Li Shaniying said faintly. Qin Jinpeng's expression was stagnant. Li Shaniying was telling the truth, but he couldn't bear to part with Xin Jingxian. Xin Jingxian was Xiao Chen's goddess. Wasn't she his goddess? Qin Jinpeng now had a beauty in his arms. He didn't want to die without even holding her hand. I promise that she won't say anything. Save her. Young Master Li. Qin Jinpeng quickly promised. It's too late. She has sunk to the bottom. There are sharks nearby. Who dares to save her? Do you go alone? Li Shaniying asked. This. Qin Jinpeng was stunned. Yes, Xin Jingxian has sunk. How can I save her? Unless I go into the water, but there are sharks in the water. Who dares to go down? Thinking of this, Qin Jinpeng was helpless, but he could only give up. Well, let's go. Get out of here, there are sharks. Actually, even without Qin Jinpeng's reminder, Li Shaniying and Lin Chao had already decided to return. Although their clothes were sturdy and had been professionally modified, it was still unknown who would emerge victorious in a head-on clash with a shark. Therefore, the two yachts disappeared without a trace. Under the water, Xiao Chen opened his eyes. His keen sixth senses did not affect his eyesight underwater at all. He could easily see everything around him clearly underwater. This was the super ability brought about by the second layer of the cultivator stage. He saw Xin Jingxian not far away and found that Xin Jingshuan's face had turned red. He was shocked and quickly swam over. When Xiao Chen swam to Xin Jingshuan's side, Xin Jingxian could not hold on anymore. Fortunately, she had trained since she was young. Although she could not swim, she could at least hold her breath. She thought that Qin Jinpeng would come to save her because she had specially looked at Qin Jinpeng's information before. This fiancé of hers was once an elite member of the school's swimming team. It should not be a problem for him to save her. However, after waiting for a long time until she was about to see stars, Qin Jinpeng did not come. Xin Jingxian also understood that Qin Jinpeng had probably given up on her. Of course, other than being a little disappointed, Xin Jingxian did not feel much sadness. She did not have any feelings for Qin Jinpeng, so she did not have the hatred of being abandoned by her lover. She was just laughing at herself. This was the marriage between aristocratic families. In the face of disaster, they would go their separate ways. Am I going to die? Xin Jingshuan's mind began to become blank because of the lack of oxygen. She had some regrets. In her short life, every day she lived under the arrangement of her family. She never had anything for herself. Suddenly, Xin Jingxian thought of the first time she lied. That was because of Xiao Chen. That night, Xiao Chen sent her home. Thinking of Xiao Chen, Xin Jingshuan's heart suddenly had a touch of the same feeling. This person is really unfathomable. Xin Jingxian had always thought that Xiao Chen was a playboy like Chao Yuliang. But looking at it now, it did not seem to be the case. He seemed to be obsessed with her to the point of being unable to extricate himself, but he seemed to be able to ignore her to the point of turning a blind eye. What a strange person. Xin Jingxian thought that if she could live again, she would definitely investigate Xiao Chen. What a strange guy. However, the moment she fell into the water, she saw that Xiao Chen was also knocked into the water. Perhaps she could still meet him in the underworld? It was not lonely on the bridge of helplessness. Xin Jingxian was thinking about some messy things in a daze when a pair of strong big hands suddenly hugged her. Then she bumped into a not considered wide but very strong arm. Xin Jingxian instinctively leaned over, and her four limbs suddenly grabbed Xiao Chen. In fact, this was the survival will of the person who fell into the water. At this time, if there was something that could be grabbed, she would definitely grab it. Many people were like this. Why did many people who were good at swimming die when they tried to save people who fell into the water? It was because the person who fell into the water directly grabbed him and wrapped him tightly like an octopus. making people who could swim unable to use their skills. Xiaochen was fine. He could hold his breath underwater, but Xin Jingxian couldn't. Seeing that Xin Jingxian was about to die, Xiaochen gritted his teeth and didn't care so much. He quickly used his vital energy to transform a mouthful of air, and then directly kissed Xin Jingxuan's lips. In a daze, Xin Jingxian felt as if someone was kissing her. She subconsciously wanted to break free, but then a mouthful of air was sent into her mouth, which made Xin Jingxian suck greedily. The will to survive was greater than everything. This was all out of instinct, but when a few breaths entered her lungs, the stuffiness in her chest suddenly decreased a lot. After a few more breaths, Xin Jingxian gradually returned to normal. His brain was also starting to shine brightly. Xin Jingxian opened her eyes subconsciously. Although it was very uncomfortable to open her eyes underwater, she could only open them and close them immediately. But she still saw who the person in front of her was. Xiaochen. It was actually Xiaochen. The shock in Xin Jingxuan's heart was more than the surprise of being saved. She never thought that the person who came to save her was actually Xiaochen. Moreover, why was there so much air in Xiaochen's mouth? However, Xin Jingxian wanted to ask, but she didn't dare to speak. Firstly, her mouth was blocked by Xiaochen's. Secondly, how could she speak underwater? Wouldn't she choke on water? So she could only blink her eyes in confusion. If it was in the past, when Xiaochen kissed the goddess of his dreams, Xin Jingxian, he would definitely be very excited. But now, Xiaochen didn't have the mood to fantasize because the shark was here. The shark was shocked when Li Shanying and Lin Chao's yacht collided with it. The loud noise and the waves made it temporarily hide far away, so it didn't see Xiaochen and Xin Jingxian. But now that the sea had calmed down, the shark discovered Xin Jingxian and Xiaochen. Xiaochen quickly hugged Xin Jingxian and changed her position so that her back wasn't facing the shark. However, Xin Jingxuan's whole body was hanging on Xiaochen's body. When Xiaochen reached out, he inevitably held onto Xin Jingxuan's buttocks. Xin Jingxian suddenly blushed. She opened her eyes to see what Xiaochen wanted to do, but when she opened her eyes she saw the shark and was shocked. And she also understood that Xiaochen didn't want to take advantage of her, but something more dangerous was coming. Xiaochen transferred air to Xin Jingxian and said to Elder Heaven Ancestor, "Elder Heaven Ancestor, help me control the shark. I'll kill it." "Oh, okay," Elder Heaven Ancestor said calmly. Sure enough, the shark's eyes were dazed, and it foolishly stopped moving motionless. Xiaochen hugged Xin Jingxian with one hand and swung his other hand into a fist. He directly exploded with the strength of the peak of Qi refining stage level 4, which was equivalent to a level 5 inner force martial artist. Boom! The fist hit the shark's face. However, with Xiaochen's current strength, it was impossible to kill the shark with one punch, so he simply punched continuously. He didn't believe that he couldn't kill the shark. Xiaochen's explosive strength was equivalent to the strength of a level 5 inner force martial artist, and it immediately attracted Xin Jingxuan's attention. Although she wasn't even a level 1 inner force martial artist, she was like Qing Minjing. Since young, she had heard about the martial artist's levels. When she realized that this was the explosive strength of Xiaochen, she was a little surprised. Xiaochen. Wasn't he a waste? Wasn't he unable to cultivate inner force? How could he have such high strength? Among the younger generation of Songning City, he should be the top existence, right? Such a young genius, did the Qing family not want him? Even the Xiao family was chased out by him? Xin Jingxian felt that it was really unbelievable. Wasn't this too amazing? Moreover, the shark just let Xiaochen hit it without moving? This kind of creature, which was like the king of the sea, was actually bullied by Xiaochen. How was this possible? This was already beyond Xin Jingxuan's understanding. Could it be? The shark was stunned by Xiaochen so it didn't move? Thinking about it, this was the only possibility. However, it was Xin Jingxuan's first time hearing and seeing a martial artist who dared to fight a shark with his bare hands underwater. Alright Xiaochen, the shark is already dead, stop fighting. Elder Heaven Ancestor reminded. Oh, how did you know? Xiaochen was afraid that the shark was not dead. I can't feel it anymore and I can't control its will. If it's not dead, then what is? Elder Heaven Ancestor asked. Alright, let's go, you have consumed a lot of your true qi. If you want to die here, then I don't care. Xiaochen was suddenly shocked and then remembered that before Xin Jingxian had transformed the air, and then he struggled to beat the shark, and Elder Heaven Ancestor had used up a lot of his true qi to control the shark. There really wasn't much left. Thinking of this, Xiaochen quickly grabbed the shark with one hand, and the other hand carried Xin Jingxian, ready to leave here quickly. Where are you going? Elder Heaven Ancestor suddenly asked. Going back to the shore, of course, Xiaoqin said. You can't go back, it's too far. There is an isolated island in front of you on the left. I suggest you go there first to rest and replenish your true qi, otherwise, you will definitely die in the sea. Elder Heaven Ancestor immediately reminded Xiaoqin. Chapter 204. Ah. Xiaoqin was stunned. I can't go back? How far is that isolated island? Not far. You just have to swim 45 degrees to the left and you will reach it. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. How do you know? Xiaoqin didn't see any isolated island when he was driving the yacht. Oh, I just used your divine sense and spiritual power to explore it. I used up all your primordial qi. Otherwise you could still swim back. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Xiaoqin was speechless. Did the Elder Heaven Ancestor do it on purpose? If there was no isolated island, wouldn't I be dead? You won't die. You can practice underwater, but your goddess is in danger. Elder Heaven Ancestor said, Of course, she has nothing to do with me. Xiaoqin smiled bitterly. Then he started to swim to the right at a 45-degree angle. Since it was already like this, what else could he say? It was the first time that Xin Jingxian was so intimate with a boy. Not only was she being hugged, but the key was, their lips were tightly pressed together. Although it was similar to artificial respiration, and it was a life-saving move, Xin Jingxian still had a strange feeling in her heart. She couldn't see Xiaoqin clearly. She couldn't believe that the person in front of her was Xiaoqin. Could it be that Xiaoqin had always been so powerful and he was just hiding his strength before? Other than that, Xin Jingxian really couldn't think of any other possibilities. Xiaoqin's level 5 inner force couldn't be practiced overnight. He must have been through strict training and hard work since he was young. However, the Xiao clan shouldn't be in the dark about this. What was going on? Could it be that the Qing family and the Xiao family actually knew, but they saw that Xiaoqin and Qing Menjing didn't see eye to eye, so they deliberately played such a show? The purpose was to let Xiaoqin, the servant, have more contact with Qing Menjing and cultivate feelings? Then, was he the culprit behind all of this? If Xiaoqin didn't like me, he wouldn't have done this. He would have been with Qing Menjing. But I'm so intimate with him now. In the future, how can I face Qing Menjing? Xiaoqin estimated that Qin Jinping and the others would not come back, so he popped his head out of the sea. To be honest, the continuous air conversion for Xin Jingxian consumed a lot of yuan qi. Xiaoqin didn't want to exhaust his yuan qi before he swam to the island. Elder Heaven Ancestor could ignore Xin Jingxian, but Xiaoqin couldn't. Xiaoqin was the first girl who made him very interested and fascinated. Although Xiaoqin never thought that he could get intimate with her one day, he did it now. However, Xiaoqin wouldn't put both of them in danger because of greed. In the face of life and death, he was still a reasonable person. Xiaoqin floated to the surface of the water and observed his surroundings. He heaved a sigh of relief when he discovered that there was indeed no danger. However, as for the fishing boat, it had disappeared without a trace. Even if it didn't disappear, it couldn't be used anymore. It had been smashed. After the investigation, Xiaoqin suddenly remembered that his lips were still touching Xin Jingxuan's lips. He awkwardly leaned back and separated from Xin Jingxian. Xin Jingxian was shocked. She suddenly remembered that they were already out of the water, but she didn't take the initiative to move her lips away. This made her blush and she was very embarrassed. Just now when they were underwater she had no choice. She needed air to breathe. But now that they were out of the sea she was still like this. Do I like this feeling? Seems. The feeling just now was really good. Xin Jingxian shook her head. What am I thinking about? I have already let Qing Menjing down. Why am I still thinking about these things? Xin Jingxian firmly believed that Xiaoqin was driven out of the family to become Qing Menjing's servant. It was a trap set up by the Xiao family and the Qing family. The purpose was to make it easier for Xiaoqin to get close to Qing Menjing. Because there was a very popular TV series Campus Belle's Bodyguard, recently, there was a similar plot, so Xin Jingxian naturally thought of this. However, she neglected that this was her first kiss and it was gone just like that. I'm sorry, Goddess Jingxian. I had no choice just now. I was also trying to save you. Xiaoqin saw that Xin Jingxuan's eyes were a little dazed. He thought that she was going to cry or go crazy, so he quickly explained. Xin Jingxian listened to Xiaoqin's explanation, but she didn't blame him. She just looked at him with some reproach. I know, but it's not good for us to do this. We are going to die. What's there to not be good for? Xiaoqin grinned, and Qin Jinping was willing to be a cuckold. That was what he said himself. I hate him. I didn't marry him. Xin Jingxian shook her head. Why is there so much air in your mouth? Oh, I have practiced. Xiao Chen said, you don't know how much pressure it is to be a useless young master. I have been worried about being assassinated since I was young, so I have to practice all kinds of survival skills. If a martial artist with level 5 inner energy is useless, then can there still be geniuses in the aristocratic families in Songning City? Xin Jingxian flattened her mouth. You are really good at lying. Sweat. Xiao Chen suddenly remembered that Xin Jingxian saw him fighting the shark in the water previously. He couldn't help but sigh. Zhuang Xiong knew his strength, and Xiao Chen trusted him very much. Other than that, no one knew that Xiao Chen had such strength and wasn't a useless person. Xin Jingxian was the second. This made Xiao Chen a little embarrassed. To be honest, his relationship with Xin Jingxian wasn't particularly close. At that time he pursued Xin Jingxian all day. Perhaps Xin Jingxian was annoyed enough? Therefore the relationship between the two was only passable. This was after he sent Xin Jingxian home. If it were another person, Xiao Chen might have killed them, but he really couldn't do it to Xin Jingxian. You will keep it a secret for me, right? Not knowing why, Xin Jingxian heard Xiao Chen's somewhat helpless tone. Her heart shivered. If not, will you kill me to keep it a secret? Xiao Chen took a deep breath and looked at Xin Jingxian. A trace of helplessness flashed in his eyes. No, you are the girl I used to like very, very much. Xiao Chen's words instantly touched the softness in Xin Jingxuan's heart. She fell into Xiao Chen's arms powerlessly and asked, then, what about now? There is no now. Xiao Chen sighed and said faintly, this assumption is a bit far. It was impossible for me and you before. Now, it is even more impossible, so I'd better be realistic. Xin Jingxian didn't know why, but after hearing Xiao Chen's words, she suddenly felt very uncomfortable in her heart. She had an urge to cry. Not knowing where the courage came from, Xin Jingxuan's body suddenly sank down. Previously, Xiao Chen had been holding Xin Jingxuan's buttocks, but that was because they were swimming rapidly in the water. He was afraid that Xin Jingxian would fall off him, but now that they were floating on the water it was safe. Xiao Chen couldn't keep taking advantage of Xin Jingxian, not to mention that Xin Jingxian was still hanging on him, so he didn't pay attention. However, now that Xin Jingxian let go, she fell down. Xiao Chen was shocked and quickly sank into the water again. Because he was still holding a shark, Xiao Chen's speed was not slow, but he still fell more than 10 meters before he caught up with Xin Jingxian and grabbed her. Xin Jingxuan's face at the moment was also a bit ugly, as if she was out of oxygen. As soon as Xiao Chen grabbed her, Xin Jingxuan's body naturally leaned over and fell into Xiao Chen's arms. Her lips also naturally stuck to Xiao Chen's mouth. Xiao Chen was a little dumbfounded. What is this situation? Xin Jingxian was fine. How did she sink into the sea again? Could it be that she grabbed me too hard before and when she floated to the water she lost her strength and fell down again? Thinking about it, there was only this possibility. Other than that, Xiao Chen couldn't think of anything else. Xiao Chen quickly began to use his primordial qi to transform the air into Xin Jingxuan's mouth. Xin Jingxuan's face slowly improved. She opened her eyes and looked at Xiao Chen. Her eyes were a little blurred. At this moment, Xin Jingxuan's heart was beating fast. Although Xiao Chen also felt it, he thought that Xin Jingxuan's heart was beating faster because she fell into the sea. In fact, Xin Jingxuan's heart was really confused. Is this the feeling of liking someone? Xin Jingxian didn't know. Since she was born she had always been a good girl. Her heart was as still as water. She had never liked any boy, nor had she paid attention to anyone. She was also resigned to her family's engagement because she didn't know what love was, and she didn't have anyone she liked. Therefore, she naturally wouldn't fight against the arrangement of her family. But now, Xin Jingxian suddenly found that she fell in love with Xiao Chen's embrace. Sometimes, in just an instant, one's impression and perception of a person could undergo earth-shattering changes. In the past, whatever Xiao Chen said, although she would listen patiently and smile at him, she had never taken it to heart. Now, a casual sentence from Xiao Chen could make her heart ache, and make a move that made her feel very irrational and surprised. However, after Xin Jingxuan's impulse, she also regained her rationality. In her eyes, Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing were a couple, and Cheng Menjing was her best friend. How could she do something that would let Cheng Menjing down? When Xiao Chen brought Xin Jingxian to the surface of the water, Xin Jingxuan's mood also recovered its previous calmness. Although she was a little reluctant in her heart, she still pretended that nothing had happened. She shook her head, leaned back, and separated from Xiao Chen's lips. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.